Chapter 424, What Does a Person Live For? 3. Gazes focus on me. I can feel the eyes of the mad lord and Han Wan, and even the sticky stare of Xiao Huiol from afar is directed this way. Are they mistaking me for a true immortal? It seems there's some misunderstanding, ancestor. I am not some true immortal entity. However, she doesn't listen to my words and instead bows her head at my feet. Oh, great one. Please, I beg thee to now spare our sect. We are nothing more than a small sect in the head realm. There are not many of us who even truly believe and follow the legend of the founder. We are those who have nothing to do with the founder's deeds, so please, even if you have a grievance against the founder, please, I implore thee, let your anger be appeased with just me. Just as I'm about to say something in response to her desperate demeanor, as if she would lick my feet. Flash. The dull light of the flying escape technique flickers, and in that instant, Han Wan swiftly charges in and kicks Yun Wei's projection away. Quang. Yun Wei, kicked in the stomach by Han Wan, is sent flying and crashes into a pillar of the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Han Wan glares at Yun Wei and growls. What do you think you're doing right now, Jin Wei? Han Wan. She trembles as she looks at Han Wan. You've become blind. Those once shining eyes have completely lost their focus. Yun Wei lets out a short ha and bites her lip as if in despair. I expected this from the start. When I was trying to pluck out your eyes and extract the contamination of the great being embedded in your soul, I could feel that the contamination was regenerating your eyes and giving you strength. I've always thought that the spiritual, divine power you later gained was certainly something bestowed upon you by someone. She looks at Han Wan with bitter eyes and then looks up at me. If it was bestowed by someone, then that someone could retrieve it whenever they wish. Is that not right? Oh God. She staggers as she gets up from the ground. The power I felt when I stitched that fool's mind. The presence I sensed while chasing that being called Chionra. And the aura I started to feel from you at some point. They were all the same. Yun Wei, stumbling, walks forward and kneels before me again. Oh God. I've been aware of it. I've suspected it from the very day you took me, John Myung-hoon, and your followers to that familiar feeling Salt Mountain. Thud. She bangs her head on the ground before me. Even so, I trusted you deep down in my heart. Ah, great one. Just as you protected us from the owner of that wicked heavenly lightning banner, I believed you wouldn't bring us misfortune this time. However, what we mere mortals dared to, and yet, cannot comprehend, is your purpose. Yes, you must have had a need, hence you used us. Our founder was such a person as well. But please, I beg of you, this insignificant thing has a request. Bang, bang. She bangs her head on the ground, even materializing her projection to do so. I can feel it. Though it's just a projection, it's connected to the soul enshrined within the head realm, bearing all of the same pain. Please, take me as the last, and spare the descendants. Bang. At her words, I try to say something, but I find myself at a loss for words and close my mouth. She felt that the presence of Chionra, which she sensed while suturing Han Wan's mind in the past, the presence of Penglai Island's Salt Mountain when I brought her there, and the presence of the phenomena extinguishing mantra that I had internalized, were all identical. This led her to fully believe that I am the incarnation of the owner of Great Mountain. In other words, from her perspective, I am now the very being who drove Han Wan to madness 40,000 years ago, shattering her heart, and the source of the misfortune that has plagued her life. I close my eyes. In truth, perhaps this is how most people see me. Unless they are my comrades who also quickly accumulated power after arriving from Earth, this is probably the normal way people see me. There is a method to clear up this misunderstanding to prove that I am not a true immortal. That's by revealing my regression. But I can't do that. So what should I do? I find myself at a loss, unable to think of a solution, and can only open and close my mouth. And the one who saves me from this predicament is none other than Han Wan. Clench. He grabs Yun Wei by the collar and lifts her up, growling with an even more furious expression than before. Answer my question, Jin Wei. I asked, what do you think you're doing? What does it matter to you what I do? It's none of your concern, is it? Why wouldn't it matter? Right now, are you not offering yourself to that person without repaying the debt you owe me? Debt? What debt? Ah, you mean plucking out your eyes? Huh. Those eyes that couldn't even properly distinguish people were too good for you, so I removed them. In fact, the eyes that have lost their light suit you much better. She laughs scornfully at Han Wan and shouts. How many times do I have to tell you, you blind fool? There's no such person called Chionra, and I've only ever killed one disciple of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect with my own hands. That wasn't even the Chionra you knew, but my own senior brother. Got it. Stop spouting nonsense. You are clearly the monster who devoured all your fellow disciples. You took everything from me. I will never allow you to become someone else's possession before you repay that debt. Foolish man. Yun Wei looks down at Han Wan while still being held by the collar. For some reason, her eyes hold a faint trace of longing and deep despair. You can't even remember the promise of that day, And now you're blocking me with this nonsensical logic driven by leftover emotions. How pathetic. Pathetic, pathetic, and even more pathetic, my old lover. If you want to stop me, first recall the promise of that day. She's currently a projection made of lightning, so it doesn't show. But I suspect that if she had a physical body, she would be in tears right now. That's how heart-wrenching Yunwei's intent is at this moment. Nonsense. Aside from the formal pact we made through political marriage, I've never made any promises with you. She no longer responds to his words and, in her projected form, slips through Han Wan's grasp and approaches me. Yunwei glances at Han Wan briefly and then bends forward slightly without kneeling. Will the Great One please grant my request? With great difficulty, I force myself to speak. I am not a true immortal. I am just one person of many, just like you. Yunwei doesn't respond, but I can't help but hear her inner thoughts echoing within her heart essence. Are you trying to mock us until the very end? And as that thought crosses her mind, as if something saps her strength, Yunwei's projection slumps to the ground. Seeing this, Han Wan's face twists in anger, as if something doesn't sit well with him. Baduduk, I told you not to kneel. Wei, kagugugu. The power of yin-yang and the 5 elements begins to surge around Han Wan, and just as I prepare to subdue him, Kwong, the body of Han Wan, who is about to launch an attack, is suddenly crushed under a puppet. It's her, kaguguguk. She synchronizes with the black energy emanating from the Black Lord and unleashes a tremendous force, and Han Wan is completely subdued beneath her. You're really putting on quite the show in my world. If you don't want to be modified, keep your mouth shut until we arrive. Though the words come from the Mad Lord, who is only at the mid-4-axis stage, no one present can oppose his words. Han Wan glares at Yunwei with an unreadable emotion overflowing in his eyes before being dragged away by her. Yunwei, after briefly glancing at me, lowers her eyes and dissipates her projection, vanishing. You too, stop causing trouble. Don't test my patience. Remember that I'm holding back my anger with superhuman restraint. The Mad Lord also gives me a warning before hastening his control over the wonderfully mysterious fortress. I stand there, recalling Yunwei's words for a moment. Up until now, I've done everything I could for the sake of saving my people. I've always been careful with my words and cautious of the future. I knew long ago that the heavens are not on our side, so I've done everything I could to ensure we could overcome any misfortune that befalls us. But even so, there are those who saw my actions and formed such sentiments. Have I been too arrogant? When I think about it, I realize that I have. I've always cared about those I wanted to protect, but I never considered their own perspective. Even when I recently drove the human race out of their territory, there may have been those who valued their homeland more than their own lives. I thought that with strong power, I could lead everyone, but I never considered the perspective of those being led. I asked the Mad Lord without thinking. May I ask you a question? What is it? There must have been someone you wanted to protect, right? Of course. If the thoughts of the person you want to protect differ from yours, in other words, if the one you want to protect doesn't actually want to be protected by you, what would you do? Are you talking about that woman from a moment ago? He glances at me briefly, then seems to be deep in thought, letting out a faint hum. That's a problem I've never considered. He seems to have found some sort of insight from my question, and his expression becomes one of deep contemplation, even forgetting his anger. Suddenly, he asks me a question. I heard you taught my disciple the martial arts of mortals? Yes. I was told that the level of that martial art far surpasses that of my old friend, of even my lover. It was only for a brief moment, but it seems that he and Kim Yun had quite the conversation through the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon. There's one thing I'm curious about. I completed the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon by researching martial arts and the intent of martial artists with the goal of perfecting my lover's martial art. Then, you, who taught my disciple such a high-level martial art, you must know. He asks, could you defeat cultivators with that martial art alone? And if you could, what is the name of that martial art, and what is the name of that realm? I look into the Mad Lord's eyes, recalling the past. There was a time like that. The days when I was obsessed with whether one could challenge cultivators with martial arts or not. The name that was given in those days. Entering heavens beyond the path martial arts. It's the name of the method where mortals can become the heavens. And the realm is called entering heavens beyond the path. Entering heavens. The Mad Lord seems to roll the name around in his mouth for a moment before asking again. In the eyes of someone who has reached that realm, how do I appear? Have I reached what you call entering heavens beyond the path? On behalf of the ones who entrusted their hearts to me, I've dedicated my entire life to reaching that realm with cultivation methods, but I've only managed to slightly glimpse heart essence. In your eyes, how do I seem? I look at him for a moment before answering. Half step. You've only just reached that point. Is that so? The Mad Lord lets out a bitter smile. Then, he gives an answer to my earlier question. You asked what I would do if the hearts of those I wanted to protect differed from mine. Look at me. I devoted my entire life, but I couldn't reach the entering heavens you spoke of. I couldn't protect the ones I wanted to protect, nor have I gained a single thing I sought. Isn't that life? Isn't that fate? He continues, speaking while glaring at a certain place. The place he is glaring at is where Seo Huiol is looking over in this direction. Even that scorpion snake bastard glaring at us from afar tried so hard, but couldn't obtain what he wanted. In the end, nothing in this world goes exactly as we want it to. So just do what you can. How others think, that isn't something you can control. For things you can't control, just let it go, and for things you can, just give it your all. Surik, the Mad Lord speaks while stroking her hand. That is the only reason I'm still alive in this strange and bizarre world, even while harboring this pain. As if recalling something, his voice somehow lacks strength. With those words, the conversation between the Mad Lord and me comes to an end. 3 days later, the Mad Lord's wonderfully mysterious fortress arrives at Heaven Earth Palace. Are you ready, Seo Huiol? I ask Seo Huiol through heart language, and he responds. The preparations for pulling are almost complete. However, it seems that being will climb up to the bright cold realms sooner than expected. What? Around when? It will arrive in about half a day. I let out a low groan at those words. Understood. Get ready to pull when I give the signal. The Mad Lord will hold, and I will push. Yes, got. And then, it happens. Quag wag wag wang. The entire bright cold realm shakes, and celestial energy begins to flow erratically. I flinch in surprise and look up at the sky, and a hurried message comes from Seo Huiol's side. Upon receiving Seo Huiol's message, I roar in anger. Seo Huiol. Just what? I apologize, Taoist Seo. I wasn't aware of the correlation between them and the ghostly Een transformation immortal root, so I couldn't foresee this. Damn fine. I explain the situation to the Mad Lord. The Mad Lord listens to my explanation and lets out a hollow laugh. Look at that. In the end, nothing in this world goes the way you want it to. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I'm on the verge of losing my mind, grinding my teeth. Contrary to Seo Huiol's prediction, the ghost guiding Holy Mother isn't emerging from the Void Spirit Pond. Instead, Kong Minhee is being summoned near my comrades who are with the Nether Crossing ship. It's clear that the Nether Crossing ship has summoned Kong Minhee. Right now, I must immediately go to my comrades, who are preparing to leap from the edge of the stable realm to the Heart Tribe territory. But how? There's no way. Just as my mind is about to go blank. TSTSTSTST. Kim Yun, who is connected to me through the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon, sends me a voice transmission. Can you come right away? No. I'm at the Heaven Earth Palace. It's impossible to get there right now. Hyangwa says she has a way. What? Startled by her words, I ask back. What's the method? For now, I'll send Hyangwa's consciousness over there. Woo-woo. Kim Yun's consciousness links with Book Hyangwa, and through Kim Yun, Book Hyangwa's projection appears here. Pat it. Book Hyangwa encounters Zhou Yun inside the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Hello, Elder Zhou Yun. I, this lowly junior Book, am honored to meet the idol of all artisans in the head realm. At her words, Zhou Yun frowns and asks, and who are you? She's the artisan with the extraordinary pattern law talent who was mentioned to have helped Yun previously. She's currently close with us. However, upon my explanation, the expression on the Mad Lord's face becomes somewhat strange. Are you saying you're a bloodline of the Zhou clan? Pardon? That's strange. There's no way you could be a bloodline of the Zhou clan. Absolutely not. What are you? Well, never mind. I'll hear the details later. So why are you here? At the Mad Lord's question, Book Hyangwa regains her composure and forms hand seals. Simultaneously, a certain design appears before us. Though it may be inadequate to present to the pinnacle of the head realm's artisans, with this, it should be sufficient to travel from the Heaven Earth Palace to here. That is, the Mad Lord gazes at the design she has shown with interest. It's the blueprint of the Realm Annihilation Heavenly Void Formation. However, I ask, feeling frustrated. Time is of the essence right now. Where do we have the time to create that? Why not join forces with me and fly the wonderfully mysterious fortress instead? But to my words, the Mad Lord simply sneers. Where do you think time is needed? How much time do you think it even takes? Pardon? What is that? Keying. At the Mad Lord's gesture, a humanoid puppet flies in from somewhere and lands in front of Book Hyangwa. No more words are needed. I'll show you, so just watch. Since you don't seem to be of the Zhou clan bloodline, I'll temporarily use you as my assistant. I don't know how you acquired the extraordinary pattern law talent without being from my clan, but if it's the extraordinary pattern law talent, you should be able to at least assist well enough. At the Mad Lord's words, Book Hyangwa possesses the puppet called by him and responds with an enthusiastic voice. It is an honor. Elder Mad Lord Zhou Yun. Now let's show them. The power of artisans. Clang 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 clang. The mechanisms of the wonderfully mysterious fortress begin to move. At the same time, the Mad Lord and Bu Qianghua combined their abilities, tearing the Void Spirit Pond from the land of the Heaven-Earth Central region, and rapidly start implanting the Realm Annihilation, Heavenly Void Formation into the interior of the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Insane. Even though I've seen Mad Lord several times, to be honest, even after nearly 200,000 years, I'm still not used to it. Clank, 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 clank. With a grand sound resounding, the Realm Annihilation Heavenly Void Formation, smaller in size, but more intricate than the one installed in the Twilight Domain, is quickly established at the center of the wonderfully mysterious fortress. It was made in a makeshift way, but it should be usable. Now let's get going. The Mad Lord wipes his sweat and activates the Realm Annihilation Heavenly Void Formation, causing the wonderfully mysterious fortress to begin leaping through space. Twereric. Traversing thousands upon tens of thousands of li in an instant, we soon find ourselves facing a ghost Mother Heaven. Chapter 425. What does a person live for? Kurung, Kururung. A storm is brewing. Sio Huiol. How long will it take to draw in the ghost guiding Holy Mother? That, since it was originally planned to pull her in from the designated coordinates, now that the coordinates have suddenly changed, it will take more time to adjust them. How much time do we need? It will take at least a day. At those words, I grit my teeth and shout. You useless thing. Wait, please calm down, Daoist Sio. If there's a way to fix the coordinates, we can drastically reduce the time. What do you want me to do? Sio Huiol, smiling from a distance, responds to my words. If you have the blood of a sea dragon race like me, or the main soul, you can quickly locate the coordinates. As I understand, one of your comrades is my descendant. If you send me a handful of that child's blood, or even a fragment of their soul, I can modify the coordinates within one shurchen. So he's asking for Sio Rant's blood or a fragment of his soul. It's when I'm in deep thought. Kugugugugu. The wonderfully mysterious fortress finally succeeds in fully settling at its destination. Pushiai. The Realm Annihilation ground shrinking formation installed in the wonderfully mysterious fortress releases its heat, and I, along with my comrades, can once again see the human race Grand Alliance on the deck of the Nether Crossing ship. On the deck of the Nether Crossing ship, Junjie and the other leaders of the human race Grand Alliance look back and forth between me and the wonderfully mysterious fortress, clearly bewildered, and I say to them, and everyone else present, as the ghost guiding Holy Mother is trying to descend here, all of you should move to the coordinates I've provided. At my words, Hyoguak shouts, it's not ready yet. The energy hasn't accumulated enough. Damn it. Then, the Mad Lord steps forward. Black Lord, Kugugugugu. A massive darkness emerges from the wonderfully mysterious fortress. An overwhelming power of darkness begins to flow from the puppet made from the corpse of the Black Dragon King, Hein Eum. The black seawater originally contained within his integrated Dao domain begins to resonate with the power sources of the Nether Crossing ship. Wong, the power source of the Nether Crossing ship possessed by her, as its core, along with the two Nether Crossing ships, begin to rise rapidly. What? No, what in the world? Hyoguak, seeing that the Mad Lord is helping them, looks up at him in confusion, and I turn around and shout. If it's charged, activate it. At my words, Hyoguak snaps back to his senses and shouts. Activate the Nether Crossing ship. Activate the Nether Crossing ship. Release the hawsers. Raise the anchor. Upon Hyoguak's command, thousands upon tens of thousands of ghosts start to boil up from the top of the Nether Crossing ship, rising into the air. The Nether Crossing ship begins to prepare for a spatial leap. Daoist Sio, there's no time. You must send it quickly. Ahead of us, I can see Kong Minhee breaking through the dimensions and descending, while Sio Huiol urges me to send a piece of Sio Rant's soul. But I frown. Is he perhaps planning on doing something to Sio Rant? There's no worry if it's just Sio Huiol as a single entity, but Sio Huiol is a multitude, a plague in himself. If I give him Sio Rant's trace, who knows what he might do? He said he wouldn't betray us, but it's when I'm agonizing to the point of madness. Master, Hong Fan flies over to me. Master should board the Nether Crossing ship as well. I must stop Kong Minhee here. Kum, I understand. Is there anything you need? I briefly explain the current situation to Hong Fan, who nods and says, there's no time to bring Sir Sio Ran, so I'll create the coordinates myself and send them to the person called Sio Huiol. What? Is that even possible? TS. At that moment, Hong Fan instantly pulls out an alchemical furnace and begins tossing in strange medicinal ingredients, starting to refine something. After a while, when Hong Fan places the herbs and poisonous liquid into the alchemical furnace, it heats up, and a deep red liquid starts to ripple inside. Using the leftover and peels of the sea orchid fruit left behind by Sir Sio Ran last time, I've created a liquid with properties almost identical to the true blood of the sea dragon race. I've carefully combined the ingredients, adjusting their proportions and blending the chi of the herbs to perfectly mimic that of the sea dragon race. Master can use this to stabilize the coordinates. Got it. I relay Hong Fan's words to Xiao Huiol, who accepts my proposal with a hint of disbelief. Understood. I never imagined something like that was possible. Then, I'll connect the coordinates. Pat it. At the same time, a fragment of Xiao Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens emerges from my shadow and seeps directly into the liquid Hong Fan has created. Hong Fan carefully adjusts the energy of the liquid, working hard to send the coordinates to Xiao Huiol. After a while, the liquid turns even more crimson and begins to shine brightly. Blood sacrifice ritual. Blood in returning home. Wu Wong. The liquid, now infused with Xiao Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens, begins to boil as if it's burning crimson red. I squint my eyes and take a step back to avoid the attraction force emanating from the liquid. Soon, Xiao Huiol's voice echoes. Once that entity returns, please pour the liquid onto it. Got it. Kugugugugu. Once again, space distorts, and Kong Minhee, who was temporarily expelled to the interdimensional void by Xiao Huiol and I, returns. Chills. I feel a shiver run through my entire body as I look at Kong Minhee. This crazy. Previously, her power was unstable, fluctuating at the early star-shattering stage, but now that she descends again, her strength has clearly stabilized at the mid-star-shattering stage. Did she undergo a heavenly tribulation in the interdimensional void and advance? From within the darkness, I can feel her gaze passing over me, directed at the nether-crossing ship as it prepares for a spatial leap. The next moment, I quickly swing the colorless glass sword. I sense Kong Minhee launching an attack toward the nether-crossing ship at a speed that I can barely perceive. Severing mountain swordsmanship, echoing valley. Emptying all the strength in the sword, I channel Kong Minhee's strike into the blade and deflect it towards the sky. Tome. Her single strike, deflected towards the heavens. Jiuk. The sky splits open. Chwak. From the southern end of the horizon to the northern end. A black line is drawn across the sky, reminiscent of the scene of split sky Kim Young-hoon once showed by cleaving the sky of a sea domain in the ancient Force realm. The difference is that while Kim Young-hoon's feet only cleave the sky of a sea domain at most equivalent in size to the human race territory, Kong Minhee's strike has torn open the far vaster sky of the bright cold realm. Kugugugugu. Watching the black chasm that has formed in the void, I shout at Hong Fan. Pour it. Hong Fan. Depart. Black Ghost Valley. Flash. Two nether-crossing ships from the Black Ghost Valley leap through space, and I turn to look at Hong Fan. But for some reason, Hong Fan, showing a blankness he has never shown before, is staring in a daze beyond the darkness that Kong Minhee has cloaked herself in. Hong Fan. Quickly. Kwong. Suddenly, I am struck with such force that I almost lose consciousness. Kuug. Something massive and powerful slammed into my body. And that something is none other than a barrier formed by hundreds of ghost kings. What is this? What just happened? This is... I realize what is happening and widen my eyes. Kong Minhee, using the ground shrinking technique, is distorting space and leaping through dimensions to chase after the nether crossing ship heading toward the chaos realm. And I, who was between her and the nether crossing ship, am now being swept away by her charge, slammed into the barrier she's created and carried along with her. So this is the ground shrinking technique of the star-shattering stage. If the ground shrinking technique of the 4-axis and integration stage cultivators merely folds space to move a bit faster than the flying escape technique, then the ground shrinking technique at the star-shattering stage is on a completely different level. Payet. Everything around appears as a blur of light. Similar to when I ascended from the head realm to the bright cold realm, the entire space is pressing down on me with immense pressure, and everything around me appears like thin lines. And far behind me, I can see the nether crossing ship making a dimensional leap to flee into the Heart Tribe territory. Damn it. She's going to catch up. I grind my teeth as I watch Kong Minhee catching up to the dimensional leap of the nether crossing ship, which is traveling through the infinite space-time, using nothing but the ground shrinking technique. Hong Fan missed the timing. While he was distracted by something, she initiated the ground shrinking technique, preventing Xiao Huiol from forming the coordinates needed to pull her back. At this rate, the plan won't even begin. I can't let that happen. Kadoodadaduk. I raise the 3 great ultimates behind my back, envelop myself with my domain, and transform into my true form. Gwawaf. Kugugugugu. In my true form, I exert all of my strength to resist Kong Minhee's attraction force. But I realize that the force of pushing is not really compatible with me from the start. All of my cultivation and combat techniques are specialized in cutting and piercing. Everything I have researched and realized until now is overwhelmingly based on the sword. But the essence of the sword is ultimately about cutting, piercing, and blocking. Pushing itself is not an essence that can be achieved with a sword. If the opponent had a will, I could perhaps momentarily stop them by tearing or gouging out vulnerable spots like the eyes or genitals. But my opponent is Kong Minhee, the ghost guiding Holy Mother. Leaving aside the fact that I can't do such things to her, even if I could, her current ghostly transformation makes such weaknesses meaningless. Curses are useless too. I launched a few weak curses into the darkness, but the pain from the curses dispersed among the countless quadrillions of spirits, rendering it practically useless. If it's a curse created by putting forth all my efforts, it might make even the vengeful spirits that number in the quadrillions flinch, but that's about it. Woo-woo. Through the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon, I sensed the Mad Lord leading the wonderfully mysterious fortress and activating the Realm Annihilation ground shrinking formation, closely following Kong Minhee with Hong Fan. Mad Lord's heart message flies to me. Hold on for just a moment. Then, I'll send the puppet army to spill that scorpion snake bastard's blood. Just slow down her movements even a little, and it'll be possible. Sensing the area behind me, I noticed that the Mad Lord's Realm Annihilation ground shrinking formation is gradually falling behind both Kong Minhee and me. It seems that, having been used once, it's no longer functioning as effectively. Slow her down for a moment. But seeing Kong Minhee who continues without any hesitation despite my best efforts to stop her, I feel a growing sense of despair. Just what can I do to stop her? How? Just how? Sararak. It's then. Something soft brushes against my fingertips as I'm trying to stop Kong Minhee. You. It's Kim Yun. I widen my eyes, seeing Kim Yun's figure appear beside me. Haruru. She was burning. The one beside me is not her main body, but a consciousness form. She appears as a flame, dense with pure white consciousness. And I have seen this form of hers before. In the 15th cycle, when Kim Yun presided over Gyu Ryan's vast cold oath. However, unlike back then, her form is considerably more unstable, and instead of the pale pink hue at that time, now it's merely a pure white light that came from densely concentrated consciousness. However, I can feel that she is trying to reach that state from back then, even if only for a moment. Kim Yun is focusing her mind with an intensity one have never seen before. It's now, in a state that is practically the manifestation of pure consciousness. Kim Yun. As her hand touches mine, I instantly understand what she wants. It transcends mere thoughts and is directly transmitted. As if hypnotized, I follow Kim Yun's command and thrust the All Heavens sword into her. Everyone come. And with the All Heavens sword's adjustment of planes, all my comrades connected through Kim Yun's wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon simultaneously reveal themselves. Chwararik. Oh Hyun-suk, Azure Tiger Saint, Kim Young-hoon, John Myung-hoon, and other comrades manifest their consciousness from the plane of soul, descending to the plane of chi, guided by the All Heavens sword. Kim Yun has temporarily allowed everyone to reach a state with clones that are almost as good as their main bodies. At the forefront are Oh Hyun-suk and Azure Tiger Saint. Haha, amazing. To think we could create a body with our consciousness and manifest it in the plane of soul, then lower the plane to create clones almost identical to our main bodies. Azure Tiger Saint laughs heartily as he shouts. We can test this legendary technique. Hyun-suk. Yes, master. Let's show them our sex history. Wings begin to sprout from the backs of Azure Tiger Saint and Oh Hyun-suk. 1 wing, 2 wings, 3 wings. Gradually, their bodies start to grow larger, boiling with starlight. The wings emit the azure light of the azure heavens, making their bodies shine as if they are formed from both day and night, as if they are the sky itself. 7 wings, 8 wings, 9 wings. Their auras continue to intensify. In an instant, the auras of Azure Tiger Saint and Oh Hyun-suk surpass the grand perfection 4-axis stage and soar to the early integration stage. Then, the armor that Azure Tiger Saint is wearing begins to glow. Behold, this is the essence of the 2,000-year history of the great Azure Heaven Creation sect. Chiefying. And beneath the 9th wings, a 10th set of wings begins to emerge. These are red wings. Wings of life, forged from the blood and sweat of Azure Tiger Saint and Oh Hyun-suk. As the auras of the Azure Heaven wings and the wings of life mix, the bodies of Oh Hyun-suk and Azure Tiger Saint are dyed in purple. That's the final Azure Wing heavenly shatter of Azure Tiger Saint that I witnessed in the 14th cycle. The form of 10 wings. The purple giants that Oh Hyun-suk and Azure Tiger Saint have transformed into charge at Kong Minhee all at once and push her. Your specialty is cutting, Seo Eun-hyun. Oh Hyun-suk shouts as he looks back at me. Leave this type of work to us. These clones created by Kim Yun's ability won't be a problem even if they're destroyed. Azure Tiger Saint, drawing upon the power of the clear sky armor, demonstrates the strength that once briefly blocked the Black Dragon King when he was combined with the Esteemed One. Oh Hyun-suk, combining the abilities of the unique holy body and the power of 10 wings, amplifies his strength to a level comparable to Azure Tiger Saint. The two giants stand firm as a shield in front of me. Indra's net. Quadragigic. John Myung-hoon transforms into a two-headed, six-armed lightning god, casting a net made of lightning. Soon, the net catches both the wonderfully mysterious fortress and us, and I can feel the wonderfully mysterious fortress being pulled even faster toward us with the help of John Myung-hoon's power. I heard we need to pour something on Kong Min-hee. Kim Yun is connected to my consciousness, and since our comrades are connected to Kim Yun's consciousness, most of the situation, excluding demon beasts, has been shared with our comrades in real time. Kim Young-hoon, understanding our plan due to this connection, speaks up. I'll join forces with Hong Fan to scatter it together. Please D. Then, Kong Min-hee begins to struggle. Coom. Kuga-guga-gugu. With just one thrash of her body, the nether-crossing ship ahead is shaken. The wonderfully mysterious fortress following behind trembles wildly, and all of us blocking her cough up blood from our 7 orifices. If Kong Min-hee keeps moving, it will be difficult even with Hong Fan and Kim Young-hoon joining forces. I make a decision. Go ahead. Even if only for a moment, I will restrict Kong Min-hee's movements. I trust you. Pot. Kim Young-hoon vanishes, and I grip the colorless glass sword, focusing my consciousness for a brief moment. The opponent is an entity that cannot be cut. What works now is not the slashing or piercing of the sword, but pushing or blocking. Does that mean my sword is currently useless? No. How many times have I despaired before the heavens, before fate? How many times have I cried out in helplessness against overwhelming force that cannot be resisted? Is it not my sword that I have honed, so it can be used even in moments like this? There's still something left that can be cut. If it's against an entity where cutting has no meaning, and even if they are cut they cannot feel pain, what should I cut? TSDS. I imbue my consciousness into the sword. Originally, it was a move imbued with the nascent soul and swung. But now that the nascent soul has evolved into a domain, it has become a technique that envelopes the world within it. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. 25th move. Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace. All my power merges into the sword, and the power completely ascends to the plane of soul. The curse was scattered among the vengeful spirits. TSDS. The Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace darkens black. In that case, if I embed the curse in reverse at the moment the pain is dispersed, it will lead to a concentration of blessing instead of a dispersion of the curses. I will concentrate the blessings solely on Kong Min-hee, stopping her even if just for a moment. The Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace alone isn't enough. Though she has no consciousness, she is no different from the star-shattering stage. Even if the speed of the Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace is comparable to the single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion, it won't be enough against her. Chances are it will be blocked by her midway. I must strike with a speed that can't be blocked. Along with the Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace, I combine another technique. Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace. And Deep Mountain, Emerging Tao. Application Technique. Deep Grace, Shining Dominance. Sun Jiao Jiao Ba. The black sword energy extends in the shape of a crescent moon. The sword energy of the Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace flies at the speed of Deep Mountain, Emerging Tao, quickly piercing Kong Min-hee's chest and scattering the curse within her. In the next moment, the curse, along with my will embedded inside, reverses. The pain does not disperse. Instead, the blessing concentrates entirely on her. Pat it. A clear crescent moon seems to bloom on Kong Min-hee's chest. It's as if a bright, radiant moon has risen in the middle of the night. Pat. The next moment, I enter Kong Min-hee's heart essence. Inside, I momentarily push out the torment of the ghosts wailing within her and confront her consciousness. A pure white space. Facing each other, now clear-headed in this brief moment. We look at each other and smile bitterly without needing words. It's so embarrassing, I could die. Kong Min-hee brushes her face. I didn't expect you to come this deep inside. You must have seen everything in my heart. I didn't see everything. Don't lie. You saw it. Tell me what you saw. SSSS. The space I briefly created in Kong Min-hee's heart essence through the blessing is being dyed in darkness. With her face still covered by her hands, she asked. I answer with a gentle smile. That time, no special explanation is needed. In here, we understand each other's hearts. The evening of the day we dated for the second time and broke up for the last time. The scene in the smoking area. I saw the longing and regret that Kong Min-hee had hidden at that time. Kong Min-hee lowers her hand. She's crying. The surroundings are being consumed by darkness. The short time gained by the Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace is coming to an end. Do you know, Seo Eunhyun? I look at Kong Min-hee calmly, and she speaks while shedding tears. It's now that I finally realize. Pot. Once again, my consciousness returns outside of Kong Min-hee's heart essence, and the voice of Kong Min-hee, who briefly regained her consciousness due to me, quietly echoes amidst the ghostly wails. Life is sorrow. Shush. Then, Co Wheel's red liquid is scattered above her. Flash. The coordinates connect, and the gate to the astral realm, where Co Wheel and O Hyasio are opens. Chapter 426. What does a person live for? 5. Clang. It's called a door for convenience, but in reality, it's a type of branded mark. A red dragon's branded mark is imprinted on Kong Minhe's body. It's the same spell formation I've seen on the topmost floor of the serving command palace. The spell formation imposed on her body and the ghost kings around her begins to bind her, becoming a passage to the astral realm. Zuwang. A faint image of the astral realm begins to emerge behind Kong Minhe. The branded mark on her body is summoning a scene of the universe filled with stars, and through that scene, I understand the reason Co Wheel's curse of blindness, which was originally 1,000 years, extended to a span of 2 billion years. Co Wheel, you crazy bastard. The scene of the astral realm. Beyond it, true to its name, an endless sea of stars stretches out. And within that sea of stars, countless beings live among the fixed stars and planets. From flame whales living within fixed stars, to civilizations on blue planets, to insect-like species dwelling on planets filled with toxic clouds. Filled with all kinds of civilizations and all forms of life, the astral sea, Sha. Co Wheel is there. Thud. On a planet inhabited by a species resembling humans. One of the members of that species stands there with hands behind their back, smiling faintly. Thud, 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 thud. Ho ho. Then, all the members of the race around them begin to laugh in the exact same manner. Ho 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 ho. Thud, 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 thud. Their alien, mask-like laughter spreads across the entire planet. It's the same for other stars as well. On the toxic, cloud-covered planet, the poisonous insects that had been spewing venom stand up, twitching their antennae as they begin to laugh. Even the flame whales living in the fixed stars stop swimming and begin to laugh in place. All the life forms on every star visible behind Kong Minhe are already infected by Co Wheel. Their numbers, even with a simple calculation, easily reach hundreds of billions. No, it might even be in the trillions. This insane bastard. He caused all this mess while blind. Once fully consumed by the tainted soul filling the heavens, one essentially becomes identical to Co Wheel. Even if trillions of Co Wheels just casually litter the streets or bump into people once a day, all those evil deeds would certainly accumulate to easily fill 2 billion years. It's when I'm struck in shock. Wait, Co Wheel, that bastard, could it be? Somewhere far off in the astral realm. From that place, I sense a familiar presence, and I understand what Co Wheel is trying to do. Oh Hyasio is exerting her power. Just like how Kim Yun and I are connected through the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon, allowing us to sense each other's intentions and share power back and forth. Oh Hyasio is connected to Co Wheel and the tainted soul filling the heavens, exchanging authority between them. Woo-woo. By her authority, a Taiji appears above the inhabitants of countless stars infected by the tainted soul filling the heavens. The tainted soul filling the heavens stirs their souls. Oh Hyasio's authority, linked with the tainted soul filling the heavens, begins to move their chi. Tap. All the Co Wheels simultaneously form a hand seal. The insects use their antennae, the demon beasts use their paws, tails, or fins, all forming the same hand seal. My jaw drops at the following scene. The star veins are changing. Chills. Though Co Wheel roughly explained it to me, I didn't know the exact method. Now that I understand what he's doing, I'm left utterly dumbfounded. By infecting the inhabitants of the planets with tainted soul filling the heavens, Co Wheel is seizing control of the dragon veins by linking their corrupted souls to the plane of Qi through Oho's authority, and with that, he is brainwashing the stars. Kugugugugugu. Stars also possess souls, but those souls are completely different from those of intelligent beings or living creatures. The will and reason within those souls is minimal. However, Co Wheel has temporarily brainwashed all life forms on the stars and, through those beings, is overlaying his personality onto the stars whose reason are weak. Puek. Finally, the Nether Crossing ship makes a dimensional leap and briefly reaches the interdimensional void outside the bright cold realm. Despite the brand of Co Wheel still being on her, Kong Minhe also follows the Nether Crossing ship and leaps out of the dimension. I can sense the Mad Lord's wonderfully mysterious fortress, which had been pursuing us, suddenly come to a stop. Co Wheel. The Mad Lord is crying out in tears of blood from within the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Did you erase my most important memory? The tainted soul filling the heavens placed on the Mad Lord is unraveling. Damn. He begins to go berserk, and Kim Young-hoon moves quickly, taking Hong Fan from the wonderfully mysterious fortress onto the Nether Crossing ship. Co Wheel. Co Wheel. Co Wheel. The Mad Lord's consciousness grows unstable, and as he rages, the wonderfully mysterious fortress that has been following us begins to descend back into the dimension. Though the Mad Lord is cursing Seo Huiol continues his spell without paying any attention. The star veins are moving. The attraction force of the stars brainwashed by Seo Huiol begin to move freely, causing changes in the star veins. With the senses given by the star vein eye, I hear a sound like a Brahma bell being struck from some distant place as the star veins move. As the star veins shift, they sketch out a massive formation in the universe. The sound of the Brahma bell rings once more, and above the formation drawn across the universe, the light of divine immortal beasts such as the black dragon, lustrous glazed peacock, and azure pung appears. It's Ohioseo's authority. Then, the forms of the immortal beasts begin to cry out in unison. Woo! Kugagugagu. As the immortal beasts howl, an attraction force begins to emerge from the center of the formation. Kong Minhee speed slows. Now, all that's left is for Seo Huiol to pull and for me to push. But with the Mad Lord out of the picture, I have to do this alone. Even if Kong Minhee struggles, there's no choice. I have to push her out. Sorry, Kong Minhee. As I gaze upon Kong Minhee, with tears of dark blue streaming from her eyes in the darkness, I summon the 3 great ultimates and press both palms forward. Goodbye. Seo Huiol and Ohioseyo pull, and I push. Kugagugagu. Kong Minhee slowly begins to be pushed backwards. She starts moving toward the scene of the universe. It's then, flash. A blue light seems to flicker from Kong Minhee's hand, and she reaches out toward the 2 nether-crossing ships ahead. Kuguguguk. Attraction force of a cosmic level pulls towards her, summoning the nether-crossing ships. It isn't her will. The countless vengeful souls harbored within Kong Minhee are demanding the blood debt of humanity aboard the nether-crossing ships. Of course, aside from the grudge against humanity, the ghostly energy of the nether-crossing ships is similar to the energy Kong Minhee has cultivated, making the attraction force even stronger. Aya! Kong Minhee's scream echoes through the interdimensional void. I'm sorry, Kong Minhee. There are still so many things I haven't been able to say to her. I can't imagine how much she's suffering. Though I've endured hellish experiences, I don't even dare to imagine how her suffering compares, burdened with the pain of vengeful souls numbering in the quadrillions within her. But now is not the time to comfort her as I did back then. I have already lost far too much. Losing more would wear down my heart too much. The human race facing calamity, my comrades, and my own life. Now, I will protect them. Wawoom. However, as I sense the overwhelming power of Kong Minhee, I break out in a cold sweat. She's too strong. My prediction was wrong. It isn't just that her strength is immense. Kong Minhee and the nether-crossing ship share the same ghostly energy. As a disciple of Black Ghost Valley, she possesses the attraction force of Black Ghost Valley itself. In other words, as long as the nether-crossing ship of Black Ghost Valley is advancing ahead, shaking her off completely is a nearly impossible task. This isn't the time to hold back. Kugagugum. Watching the nether-crossing ships being pulled by Kong Minhee's attraction force, I make my decision. I must do everything I can to push her away. I draw out the colorless glass sword and focus my sword intent. Just then, boom, quagwagwang. Suddenly, an explosive force erupts from within Kong Minhee and throws me back completely. Hihiok. I am flung back solely by the slash of a ghost claw and crash straight into one of the nether-crossing ships. Quagwagwang. My mind feels like it's going blank. The impact has caused the nether-crossing ship's midsection to be half destroyed. Fortunately, it didn't split completely and remains barely connected. I shout to Hyogwak. Overdrive the nether-crossing ship, as much as you can, and then, flash. Along with a blue light, Hyogwak and several of the heavenly being stage elders and ghost kings of Black Ghost Valley rush in and completely shatter the half-broken midsection of the nether-crossing ship. I'm taken aback. Thud, 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 thud. The elders of Black Ghost Valley, including Hyogwak, push the remaining half of the nether-crossing ship towards the other advancing nether-crossing ship, while the ghost kings of the opposite nether-crossing ship pull the half with their attraction force. The half of the nether-crossing ship they are pushing is filled with young cultivators whose cultivation realms are lower. Kugagugagu. On top of the collapsing nether-crossing ship that is being pulled by Kong Minhee, Hyogwak and the other elders of Black Ghost Valley pay their respects in the unique manner of the Black Ghost Valley towards the nether-crossing ship fleeing in the distance. Thump, 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 thump. As the elders pay their respects by striking their chests, the elders on the other nether-crossing ship, led by Hyo Ryong, reciprocate in the same manner. I ask Hyogwak, why did you stay behind? You could have escaped with your ancestors. Hyogwak gives a bitter smile. As you may recall, Minhee is the child I brought here. He turns his head to look at Kong Minhee, who is stretching her hand towards us. Hyogwak and the elders all transform into ghost kings. Sails sprouts from Hyogwak's body. He transforms into the form of a ghost king with sails. The captain must share the fate of the ship. Being in a position of leadership means bearing the responsibility. I was responsible for Minhee, and I am also responsible for this nether-crossing ship. Hyogwak and the ghost kings of Black Ghost Valley calmly look at Kong Minhee from atop the nether-crossing ship, drawing forth their ghostly energy. Therefore, we will not flee from our responsibilities. Pat it. All at once, they throw themselves into the darkness where Kong Minhee is, without hesitation. Hyogwak, until the very end, controls the split nether-crossing ship, charging the remaining half of it towards Kong Minhee. I separate from the nether-crossing ship, committing their final moments to memory. Quagwagwang. The nether-crossing ship self-destructs, and Kong Minhee, who has embraced its energy, momentarily pauses in the face of the familiar explosion of energy. All the elders of Black Ghost Valley who had ascended from the head realm perish without exception. Watching them, I take out an item from my domain. Wawoom. A spiritual body the size of a head, covered in pure white light. It's the heavenly lotus fruit. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Just consuming it could turn an ordinary mortal into a 4-axis stage cultivator. An insane spiritual fruit. A snack enjoyed by true immortals. The fruit of the Melia tree nurtured by Hei Nyong. As the true heavenly lotus fruit enters my stomach, a tremendous storm of spiritual energy begins to whirl within my domain. How much spiritual power does it take to turn an ordinary person into a 4-axis stage cultivator? At the very least, it would require enough spiritual energy to forcibly create the axes of the heavenly circle and earthly bearings. And if it's that much spiritual energy, early, mid, late, grand perfection. In any case, my cultivation reached the grand perfection stage before regression. It only dropped a little while regressing. Quarrurum. A rumbling sound echoes from around me as lightning flickers. With the momentum to carve out my cultivation, I will unleash the single strike that severed the misfortune of the entering nirvana true persons. The star-shattering stage is a star. Just as integration stage grand cultivators or demon kings develop domains within their bodies, star-shattering esteemed ones form stars within their bodies. Although it's the size of a moon, it's still large enough to be considered a star from a mortal's perspective. In other words, to land a meaningful strike against a star-shattering stage being, one must be able to sever a star. That's why you gave me the task of cutting a star, heaven collapsing esteemed one. I charge at Kong Minhee, unleashing my sword move. And at some point, I realize that I have entered what feels like a pure white space. I must have reached the stage of awakening in the midst of facing this formidable adversary of the highest level. In this pure white space, I clearly perceive the path I must take. I can feel it. The immense force to cut down a star is boiling within me. The spiritual nature contained in the heavenly lotus fruit is refining my mind. If I take just one step forward, I will attain supreme enlightenment and cut down Kong Minhee. A new realm begins to unfold before my eyes, and as I stretch my hand towards the resonating enlightenment, I begin my sword dance. In the next moment, I realize that I have been performing accumulating dust forms a mountain completely wrong all this time. A new horizon begins to open. Chapter 427. What does a person live for? 6. Inside the cluster of pure white light, I gaze at the new horizon as if spellbound. However, I hesitate in swinging my sword. No. Instinct whispers. This moment of enlightenment is now or never. If I miss this moment, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Memories of when I failed to achieve enlightenment to the pinnacle during my first-rate martial artist days flashes through my mind. Am I going to repeat that same regret again? Gradually, the brilliant white light surrounding me begins to fade. Instinct warns me more urgently. Something whispers in my ear, shaking my heart violently. Is this not the realm I've longed for all my life? How can I stop here? Has the belief that if I attain the Tao in the morning, I'm content with death in the evening faded within me? Then, I shout back at the questions echoing inside my heart. It's not right after all. Quaching. At that moment, the white world around me shatters. I shout at the voice that has been whispering in my ear, trying to lead me somewhere. This is not my way. TSTSTSTSTSTS. Simultaneously, the power that was boiling within me, as if ready to explode, begins to subside. It might seem like a foolish situation where I've just missed a chance at enlightenment. But only after overcoming this deadly temptation can I be sure. Something is wrong. What went wrong? I ask myself. You could have reached a higher realm. You missed that opportunity. Just as you lost your chance to the pinnacle from first rate and had to sacrifice a lifetime, you will waste this life as well. It seems you'll have to endure another 190,000 years of suffering to wake up. I spit harsh words at myself. But only after escaping the light and locking eyes with Kong Minhee in the darkness do I understand. The reason I suddenly kicked away my enlightenment. It's because she's not something I should cut down. What I failed to cut down when I missed the enlightenment to the pinnacle was a leaf. If I had cut that leaf, I would have reached the pinnacle. But now what I have to cut down is Kong Min. What nonsense. Don't you have to sever all connections to rise to the second step before the throne? I shout at myself. Cut it. Sever it. Cut off all attachments and regrets, and rise to the next realm. Wrong. I answer my own questions and raise my sword. What torments me the most is that, even though I've escaped the space of white light, the effects of the awakening I gained there linger, making countless possibilities of martial arts that start with the trajectory of Kong Min's attack appear before my eyes. If I keep unfolding, the accumulating dust forms a mountain based on these possibilities, I can surely cut her down. I might even advance to the second step before the throne and kill the mindless star, shattering stage Kong Min. But I don't do that. Instead, I ignore the enlightenment descending from the domain of instinct and charge at Kong Min. Cut it down, Seo Eunhyun. I will not cut. Isn't what you hold in your hand a sword? I look at my sword in response to my own shout. The colorless glass sword has become a refining void dharma treasure. What are the characteristics of a refining void dharma treasure? It is precisely that a refining void dharma treasure is partially assimilated with one's heart essence. Hence, even if it shatters or flies far away, as long as the form of the dharma treasure remains within the heart essence, it can be revived and retrieved through it. The dharma treasure itself spans two planes, just like a cultivator's nascent soul, and this means that it can transform freely, just like an axis. My colorless glass sword has already fully fused with the all-heavens sword at some point, transforming into a thin line. A line is the optimal form for cutting. It's as if I am holding the very concept of cutting in my hand. But is a line truly only meant for cutting? Ignoring the voice in my heart urging me to cut down Kong Min, I begin to enter into repentant enlightenment. When Azure Tiger Saint and Oh Hyun Suk bought me time just moments ago, I thought I needed their help because I found it hard to exert my full strength except by cutting. When Hyo Guak and the Ghost Kings of Black Ghost Valley from the Head Realm self-destructed in front of Kong Min just moments ago, I thought there was no other way but to perform a sword dance. But isn't it absurd? Even if a sword is made for cutting and stabbing, shouldn't a true swordsman also know how to hit, block, and deflect? The limits of the sword are not the limits of cutting, but it is a weapon made for cutting and stabbing. That is also true. This is an instrument designed for cutting, stabbing, and killing. However, cutting, stabbing, and killing all differ depending on the purpose. Being able to slice vegetables or meat to make fried rice, cut through the air to perform a sword dance, and even sever through one's own limits for training. That is the sword. In the end, even if the sword is meant for cutting, stabbing, and killing, it is the person who wields it. As the person holding the sword, I declare, I do not sever my connections. Pot. And with those words, I feel something inside me shatter. Is that so? It's the heavenly lotus fruit. What I just mistook for enlightenment is, in fact, the heart demon created by the fruit of true immortals, the heavenly lotus fruit. The insidiousness of this heart demon is so deep that while most other heart demons would be devoured by me, the one from the heavenly lotus fruit is so intricate that it's indistinguishable from my own thoughts. Intricate and powerful. The heart demon from the heavenly lotus fruit is shocked upon hearing my response. However, instead of disappearing completely, it displays the possibility of a new realm right before my eyes. The increasingly certain power of accumulating dust forms a mountain. The increasingly liberated potential of accumulating dust forms a mountain. It's a possibility so undeniably certain. But I ignore the possibilities presented by the heavenly lotus fruit and completely let go of what I hold in my hand. A swordsman letting go of his sword? Have you gone mad, Seo Eunhyun? It's already within me. I have never let it go even once. The heart demon shakes my heart powerfully. Letting go of the sword just now feels incredibly foolish and stupid. But I don't care and continue advancing towards Kong Min, swordless. You let go of your sword. So how will you block Kong Min? Yet, as I ignite, accumulating dust forms a mountain around me. I speak. It's already within me. I can block her with this. The hazy cloud of accumulating dust forms a mountain, which manifests the canvas of myriad forms and connections, covers the area around me. Wrong. Letting go of the sword means abandoning the act of cutting. Your accumulating dust forms a mountain will not be able to cut through anything. Indeed, without the sword, the unfolding technique's sharp energy has disappeared. Originally, this is a technique that manifests the mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections through the cloud of sword energy. But this time, what unfolds seems to be just a simple ashen mist. Half closing my eyes, I realize as I plunge into the cloud of vengeful souls enveloping Kong Min. This is no longer just a conflict between Kong Min and myself. Now, My actions have become a battle between me and my heart demon. Realizing that all the connections with Kim Yun, which were tied by the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon, have been severed by the heart demon, I speak to it. Did you sever the connections? The one who severed it is you. Because you need to cut off all connections and ties and become emotionless to advance to the next stage. You unconsciously detached Kim Yun's consciousness yourself. Severing is not the only way to reach emptiness. I start to fend off the vengeful spirits rushing toward me. The hazy cloud begins to part as I carve a path towards Kong Min He at the center. Embrace all connections and become impermanence. This is the enlightenment of a being who reached the pinnacle of the world. Aren't you just reciting words that you yourself haven't truly understood? That's not enlightenment. It's just a chant. Joan. You're right. I don't fully grasp the meaning of the mantra. Thud. I repel another vengeful soul. Since I'm only repelling and not cutting them down to destroy them, the number of vengeful souls attacking me is gradually increasing. As the ones I fend off return, it becomes increasingly difficult to hold my ground. But one thing is certain. Attaining the Tao in the morning, content with death in the evening. The Tao is ultimately a path. It signifies the road I must travel. And the meaning of if I attain the Tao in the morning, I am content with death in the evening, is that finding the path I must travel is of greater value than even life itself. My path is one where I cannot sever connections. Therefore, if it's for my connections to not be severed, I don't care about the next realm. Passasac. With that, I stop listening to the heart demon's words and charge forward. Instead, I begin to feel. I feel the connection I have at this moment. I feel the essence between Kong Min He and myself. She is someone with deep feelings and great empathy. Although she might appear prickly and unsociable, her heart is always warm. When something irritating happens, she may act tough on the outside, but in private, she softens. It's precisely because she is like this that she embraced the resentment of countless vengeful spirits into her heart. In the end, it's Kong Min He who has a heart so broad that she can embrace the pain of these resentful ghosts. However, if she carries the pain of others herself, who, then, will bear her own pain? Kurong. I finally break through the vengeful spirits and reach the barrier enveloping Kong Min He, a barrier formed by the gathered souls of ghost kings. To cross through this barrier, I must ultimately cut it. But perhaps due to the influence of the heart demon, the sharp energy in my attack has vanished. I must break through this wall without cutting or stabbing it. It seems like an impossible task. Yes, just like the task Jang it gave me, to cut through a star. I recall the All-Heavens sword that I threw into the sky. At any time, I can summon the All-Heavens sword. And if I were to slash with the All-Heavens sword, I would be able to break through the barrier. But I don't do that. You fool. Are you just going to stand here and die a meaningless death without doing anything? It's not a meaningless death. I respond to the heart demon, my eyes gleaming. Kong Min He's ghost claw flies toward me. Dodging the slash, I shout. No matter who, how, or for what reason someone dies, there's no such thing as a meaningless death in this world. All deaths have meaning, because the life that led to that death holds meaning. Why does life have meaning? A life that seems empty and hollow. What meaning is there in a life that from the perspective of death, is so transparent that neither blessings nor curses can be seen? Like combining all intents turns them colorless, embrace all connections, and become impermanence. Perhaps, life is not something empty, but something full, and that fullness gives it meaning. Perhaps, there's no fundamental difference between emptiness and fullness, just as the combining of all intents creates the meaning of colorless. Perhaps, combining connections creates the meaning of impermanence. Therefore, I will not die here. Pat it. Light begins to emanate from my body. The faint mist of accumulating dust forms a mountain. The hazy mist that manifests the canvas of myriad forms and connections shines brightly. That light expels all the light of the heavenly lotus fruit from my body. Ironically, the heavenly lotus fruit was only ever a hindrance to me, apart from replenishing my energy. The nourishment of true immortals became a calamity for me, turning the heavenly lotus fruit into a terrifying heart demon mass. Twitch, twitch. I identify the true nature of the heart demon within the heavenly lotus fruit. More precisely, I realize the cause that gave birth to the heart demon. It's a small, dark red mist. Thinking about it, no matter how ancient and miraculous the heavenly lotus fruit is, it's still the fruit of a tree that sealed the authority of Blood Yin, the leftover of Yu Hao Te, for tens of thousands of years. There's no way it could have remained untouched by the aura of Blood Yin. Thinking back, I should have been suspicious from the moment Xiao Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens slipped out from my shadow and activated the blood sacrifice ritual, forming an attraction force with Blood Yin. Before I knew it, I was led by Xiao Huiol to eat the heavenly lotus fruit, which has been contaminated by Blood Yin. That must have been what created the heart demon. But it doesn't matter. In the end, I found the answer after overcoming the heart demon. Flash, light swirls, and the next moment, I rise to the plane of soul along with the clouds. My entire body, my entire domain, steps fully into the realm beyond the first step. This is the stage that some call the second step before the throne. Within the radiant light, standing firmly in the plane of soul, I draw the sword from within my heart. Without cutting anyone, the sword forms a sword veil, sending Kong Minhe's barrier and the countless vengeful spirits surrounding it flying away with a powerful burst of light. TSTSTSTSTSTSTS. Finally, I charge towards the chest of Kong Minhe, who has grown to the size of a sky island after absorbing the energy of the ghosts within the barrier. Chwack! Inside Kong Minhe's chest, the darkness formed by ghostly energy is thick and sticky. This darkness is connected to the plane of soul, making it even more of an obstacle for me, who has fully entered the plane of soul. But I pay no mind, piercing through all the obstacles in a straight line and diving deep into her depths. And finally, I arrive at a familiar place, shrouded in misty clouds. Kong Minhe's domain. Pure white clouds amidst a boundless sunset. At the center of those clouds, Kong Minhe's true form is crying. She, having turned into a dark shadow, is shedding blue tears. I slowly approach her. Don't come. I hear Kong Minhe's inner voice. I don't want you to get hurt. With my eyes having already entered the realm of the soul, I can perceive even the thoughts she wishes to hide within her heart. Please, just go. As Kong Minhe swings her hand, a powerful repulsive force surges towards me. I continue approaching, undeterred. She unleashes an attack against me. I advance, enduring the assaults. And when I stand just 3 zhang away from her, a thorn extending from her body pierces my chest. Puckwhack. This thorn, drenched in the energy of death and deeply anchored within the plane of soul, pierces my chest and penetrates through my back, tearing apart my domain and leaving a massive scar. Don't come. And yet, I begin to walk forward. Step, even with the thorn embedded in my chest, even as the thorn sinks deeper into my body, even as she pushes me away, even as she causes me greater pain. Finally, standing before her, I kneel and tightly embrace Kong Minhe. Having reached the realm of the soul, I use only my will to fill Kong Minhe's heart with the sea of righteousness and mountain of grace. She momentarily regains consciousness and cries, "What are you doing, stupid?" Instead of answering, I hug her even tighter. If there is someone who can embrace all the pain and resentment of every departed soul in the world, who will embrace that person's own pain and resentment? Kong Minhe. The phrase, attaining the Tao in the morning, content with death in the evening, does not simply mean using any means necessary to become stronger. Stay still. Don't do it, Xiao Unhyun. It means having the courage to throw away one's life, or even something more precious than life, to find one's own path. If you have already found your path, then risking everything to achieve it is attaining the Tao in the morning, content with death in the evening. The pain of one who embraces the suffering of all can be given to the embrace of the connection they hold. My path is connection. I'm sorry, everyone. I feel it. Ever since I expelled the heart demon from the heavenly lotus fruit, the being that was trying to take over my body through the heart demon has been overtly exerting its attraction force and trying to come over to this side. The remnants of the heart demon are forming an attraction force between that being and myself. It's highly likely that it's the being who governs the blood-in realm. At this rate, not only me, but Kong Minhe and our comrades will all be swept away. To prevent a repeat of the owner of Great Mountain incident, and to protect Kong Minhe from suffering, at least in this lifetime, I activate the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens. As I offer myself as a sacrifice, the surrounding clouds darken and storm clouds envelop us. Smiling as I hold her, I whisper, "Come down." The next moment, all heavens, puckwhack, the all heavens sword, which I threw into the sky, pierces through the vengeful spirits, the barrier, Kong Minhe's domain, and the storm clouds of the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens, descending from the heavens towards her. Beyond seated detachment, standing oblivion, in the realm Zhang it calls second step before the throne, my first single strike becomes a pillar of light that pierces us both simultaneously. Holding her, I collapse. With my sword, along with tribulating heavens, I sever the connection felt deep within her soul that reaches the depths of the netherworld, filling the void within her. I smile even amidst the pain. She said life is sorrow. But what does a person live for? A person lives to attain the Tao in the morning. What is the Tao that the person can attain? The name of that Tao is connection. Even if life is full of sorrow, as long as there is connection, it won't be completely sorrowful. That is my 21st return. Chapter 428, 21st Cycles, First Day. The familiar river of time. The familiar seats. Familiar scenes flash before my eyes. and in the next moment, huh, pat it. I return. What? Kugugugugu. The nether crossing ship crumbles, and at the moment, I just grab the heavenly lotus fruit. In other words, what is this? To the very moment just before, I feel my pupils shaking violently. The point of return has been fixed once again. Kugugugugu. Up ahead, Kong Min-hee, having completely swallowed the nether crossing ship, is leaping towards me again. Why? Just why? My head feels like it's going to explode from the absurdity and strangeness of the situation. Just why has the return point been fixed now? It's so strange and incomprehensible. What exactly are the conditions for this fixation? Can it be that the condition isn't simply ascending from the head realm? More importantly, there's never been a fixation in the interdimensional void until now. Whether it was the flying immortal platform in the vast cold realm or within the vestiges, fixation had always occurred within entities that could be called worlds. However, this time's return fixation was so sudden and bewildering. But this time, the fixation feels so abrupt and bewildering. Ugh, what's this? For a moment, I feel a disgusting sensation, as if something is thoroughly scanning my body. But when I look around, all I see is Kong Min-hee and the last remaining nether crossing ship moving off in the distance. Amidst confusion and bewilderment, I steady my nauseous stomach and focus my mind. There's a lot to think about, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I grab the all-heavens sword. TSD. The faint clouds of accumulating dust forms a mountain rise from the sword. I focus all my consciousness on the sword and unleash the single strike gained from rising to a new realm. The faint clouds shine. The clouds softly, yet powerfully, push Kong Min-hee away. Seo Huiol pulls her from the other side, and as I push, her body begins to gradually cross over towards the astral realm. As expected of Taoist Seo, I had faith in you. Seo Huiol smiles faintly from the other side, praising me. And I, too, smile back at him, raising the heavenly lotus fruit in my hand. In my previous life, I didn't notice the malice hidden inside this spirit fruit, but this time it's different. I won't provoke the fragment of blood-een within it. Woo-woo. The heavenly lotus fruit flies toward Kong Min-hee, naturally embedding itself into her bosom. Taoist Seo, if you try anything in the astral realm against Kong Min-hee, the fragment of their split soul within the heavenly lotus fruit will erode you. Kong Min-hee is now being separated from us and is reaching the astral realm, filled with Seo Huiol's. Who knows what Seo Huiol might do to her once she's there? That's why I planted the fragment of blood-een that Seo Huiol finds so uncomfortable within her bosom. I have no worries about Kong Min-hee being consumed by the blood-een fragment, the chief judge of the netherworld who appeared within Kong Min-hee during the last cycle. As long as that entity is connected to Kong Min-hee, the fragment of blood-een will remain dormant, without causing any trouble in her possession. I can sense Seo Huiol silently watching me beyond the voice transmission without saying a word in response to my statement. It was Seo Huiol who nonchalantly joined hands with me and led me to eat the heavenly lotus fruit imbued with the fragment of blood-een. If I hadn't achieved enlightenment and driven out the heart demon, if I hadn't expelled blood-een's split soul, I might not have regressed, but rather have become a mere puppet of blood-een. Clearly, I was backstabbed, but I don't feel entirely bad about it. Because of that situation, I gained enlightenment. But more importantly, by expelling the fragment of blood-een, I became able to speculate about the relationship between blood-een and Seo Huiol. Blood-een perceives Seo Huiol to be on the same side. However, it seems that Seo Huiol finds blood-een extremely uncomfortable, and perhaps even somewhat fearful. Isn't that right, Seo Huiol? The something born from blood-een. I realized that Seo Huiol is one of the branches extended from blood-een. Thanks to my contact with blood-een's fragments, some knowledge flowed into me, and I could finally understand the mural I saw back on Cherry Blossom Dragon Island. Blood-een used purple soul filling the heavens to give birth to Hien Eum, and Hien Eum's purple soul filling the heavens gave birth to Ja Eum, and through Ja Eum, the endlessly spread out sea dragon race was born. Thus, the sea dragon race are essentially branches that extend from the tree that is blood-een. Branches of blood-een, and among those branches of blood-een, something twisted, and the very being born from that is Seo Huiol. Much like the relationship between me and Seo Li, it's fair to say he's a clone that came to have self-consciousness. Since a clone can very easily be reabsorbed by the main body if it wishes, it makes sense that Seo Huiol finds blood-een and the blood-een realm so uncomfortable and even fears being reabsorbed against his will. Seo Huiol stands silently on the side of the astral realm, staring directly at me in response to my words. He no longer lets out his unpleasant ho-ho laugh like before. Beyond the scene of the astral realm, Seo Huiol, who has become a star, and all the inhabitants of that star stare up at me with expressionless faces, a sight that's rather a chilling sight. However, I don't feel bad at all. Can you even offer an excuse for what you intended by planting the fragment of blood inside me? At my words, all the CO wheels reach out their hands toward me in silence. Blink. From the hands of the CO wheels, a single eyeball appears. The bastard is clearly trying to brainwash me. You said you wouldn't betray me until the alliance is broken. Every word that comes out of your mouth is a lie. CO Wheel replies to my accusation. This time, it wasn't a lie. It was a vow sworn on my very essence. Then, if we were never on the same side in the first place, how could it be called betrayal, Daoist CO? Haha. O CO Wheel. I raise the all-heavens sword. Huai Thai. Having pushed away Kong Mini, the recoil propels me towards where my comrades have gone. I am flying back to the interior of the bright cold realm, falling into the heart tribe territory. Having just risen to a new realm, I can currently use about 3-second step before the throne moves. But since I used accumulating dust forms a mountain once to push Kong Minhee away, I have only 2 left. 2 is sufficient. No, sufficient isn't quite right. Zhu Wang. It's excessive. In the astral realm, CO Huiol joins forces with O Hai Seo and seizes control of the power of the stars. The bastard's attraction force that pulled Kong Minhee completely into the astral realm is now binding me as well. At the same time, the eyes in the hands of those reaching out to me burn bright red. I imbue my heart into my sword. What is the ultimate meaning of swordsmanship? Ask any martial artist from the head realm, Kim Young-hoon, or even cultivators like Hong Su-ryong who have mastered sword divine powers, and their answer will be the same. The Tao of the Heart Sword, Xinjian Zhurdok. The realm where one moves the sword of the heart. Because that is the ultimate realm every sword practitioner dreams of. When it comes to imagining the highest realm, there is no distinction between martial artists and cultivators. Sword practitioners devote their entire lives to reaching that realm through the sword. I obtained the formless sword after rising from entering heavens beyond the path, taking a step closer to the heart sword, and obtaining the all heavens sword brought me even closer. Yet, even after reaching seated detachment, entering hope, the Tao of the heart sword seemed endlessly distant. But the moment I rose to this realm called second step before the throne, I finally realized. The heart sword is truly right before my eyes. The peak of the seemingly endless towering mountain begins to reveal itself. Sword practitioners who pursue the heart sword must each find their own answer to reach it. And my answer is this. What is the heart sword? The heart sword is a sword that cuts with only the heart. How can there be such a thing in this world that can cut with only the heart? The answer is simple. To cut a heart, all you need is the heart itself. The will to cut, whispered to me by the formless sword and the all-heavens sword, becomes one with me completely. I pierce through CO Huiol from the plane of soul with the will to cut. Chwack. Beyond the scenery of the astral realm, one of the countless CO Huiol's eyes returns to normal. His tainted soul filling the heavens was cut. But that isn't the end. Chwack, chwack, chwack. Starting with the first CO Huiol who was cut, like how his tainted soul filling the heavens spreads contagiously, the heart sword begins to infect him. The single strike of seated detachment, entering hope, is a form of heart language that conveys one's own heart to the opponent. Condensing one's own heart to influence the opponent is the very essence of the seated detachment, entering hope single strike. Once one becomes accustomed to delivering their heart to the opponent, they can unleash single strike after single strike of this realm. Then, what kind of attack can one unleash from the realm beyond, where the heart can fire endlessly? Try to escape, CO Huiol. People exchange hearts and change at every moment. Therefore, the me from 1 second ago is inevitably different from the me a second later. You won't escape so easily. The heart sword I've displayed is based on the concept that, when people meet, they change, engraving my heart sword into the opponent's heart. With the sword energy, the opponent's heart is endlessly cut. There's only one way to escape from this heart sword. By calming the change created by meeting me. Only then can one escape from the heart sword. To put it simply in one sentence. From the moment you're struck by this heart sword, the structure is such that if you even think of me, your heart will be cut by sword energy. To escape from the heart sword, you must completely forget me, the one who shot the heart sword, and maintain a pure, empty heart. Of course, the difficulty of that is akin to being told, don't think of an elephant, and immediately not thinking of one. Even the heart tribe, who dedicate their entire lives to training the heart, would find this far from easy. This is my answer for reaching the true Tao of the heart sword. The peak of the heart grows more rugged the more one thinks of it. Severing mountain swordsmanship, 30-second move. Subheart sword, Ya Xinjian. This is transcending mountain ridge embedment, Lingu, Yirchan. They say when you gaze into the abyss gazes back at you. The heart sword I created while thinking of CO Huiol is eerily similar to his tainted soul filling the heavens. Kugagugagu. CO Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens, numbering in the hundreds of millions, begins to be slashed apart all at once. His brainwashing wave is certainly dangerous. Dangerous enough to even brainwash me. But what if I cut down that variable before he can even release those waves? The sword of my heart that I send forth cuts through the CO wheels who think of me, like the shocks you the moment you recognize a gaze or name of a true immortal. Akin to such entities, the more CO wheel thinks of me, the deeper my heart sword pierces into his tainted soul, filling the heavens. Gradually, the scenery of the astral realm fades. With a final glimpse of Kong Min-hee, who has fallen into the astral realm, and CO wheel writhing in agony from the heart sword, I smile as I fall into the dimensional veil of the bright cold realm. Thunk! I sense that CO wheel, through some means, has escaped my subheart sword. But I do not worry, because undoubtedly, the form of the subheart sword's transcending mountain ridge embedment is a fatal blow he will never recover from. Next time, pray you don't meet me, CO wheel. Using the subheart sword and purple soul filling the heavens, I now have confidence that I can uncover CO wheel's main body. Chwack! Following the traces of the nether crossing ship that my comrades have passed, I enter the dimensional barrier of the bright cold realm, and as I fall towards the Heart Tribe territory below, I let out a hollow smile. The sudden fixation of this moment in time. Though I still don't fully understand the incomprehensible laws of regression, deep inside, I feel immense gratitude, because I have drawn even closer to those I wish to protect. Next time, I will be able to save Kong Min-hee. There's nothing standing in my way now. In the span of 300 years, I will undoubtedly reach the star-shattering stage and save her no matter what. Cough. Blood mixes with my cough. Perhaps it's because I unleashed a fairly excessive single strike shortly after reaching this realm, but my entire body starts to lose strength. Yet, even though I can't move a single finger, a faint smile spreads across my face. I've finally reached it. I've finally reached the realm that Jang It calls the second step before the throne. The entering heavens beyond the path martial arts, created by Kim Young-hoon, is a formula that sings of hope. It's a formula that proves life is joy and expresses the joy of training in martial arts. Feeling the deepest sense of overwhelming joy among all the emotions I've felt throughout my endless years of training martial arts, and resonating with the formula of entering heavens beyond the path martial arts more than ever, I fall towards the Heart Tribe territory. Translator notes: I should have translated it as seated detachment, entering hope since a while back, but I completely forgot about it, tongue sticking out. Chapter 429, Her 1. Thump, 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 thump. The beating of a heart is audible. Blink. I blink. For some reason, I feel a soft sensation from the back of my head. Ah, you're awake. I can't help but flinch for a moment. Swoosh, it's Bu Qianghua. She's giving me a lap pillow while working on something. Upon closer inspection, it looks like she's drawing a blueprint for some magic artifacts. Where is this? What's the situation? I try to spread my consciousness but quickly realize that my soul is still strained, so I ask her instead. I use too much mental energy cutting down tainted soul, filling the heavens. They say if you stare into the abyss stares back at you, or that those who slay monsters slowly become monsters themselves. These words hold true. The very nature of transcending mountain ridge embedment is influenced by tainted soul filling the heavens, and even though it's meant to deal with it, it seems that's precisely why I had to exert so much mental energy. CO Wheel's murky, dark, and hollow heart is too similar to my own heart essence. Because of that, I had to expend significant mental strength to avoid falling to heart demons while cutting down tainted soul filling the heavens. Throb. I clutch my head as I get up, and Bu Qianghua supports me while explaining the situation. We're currently in a guest room within the Heart Tribe territory, specifically in the Cedarwood Grove. Cedarwood Grove? It seems we arrived safely. What's the current situation? The Heart Tribe Supreme Council nearly started a war after the human race teleported here, but for now, Sir Young-hoon and Yun Yuni, who possess Heart Tribe qualities, are mediating. Especially since there are talks going around that the cult leader is an outstanding member of the Heart Tribe. The Supreme Council said they would meet the cult leader first before determining the fate of the human race. My shoulders are heavy. I smile bitterly and speak to Bu Qianghua. That aside, let's stop with the title of cult leader. How can there be a cult leader without a cult? Then, just something casual. I'm about to tell her to call me something casual, but I suddenly realize that in this life, my relationship with Bu Qianghua has always been that of the cult leader and conqueror king. And as that thought crosses my mind, I realize a truth I have been trying to ignore since meeting Bu Qianghua. From the start, ours is a relationship that can never be casual. I gaze at Bu Qianghua with slight discomfort. She is a complicated figure for me. She is the same person as the Bu Qianghua from my 10th life, yet at the same time, she is not. Being with her means constantly seeing the shadow of her 10th cycle self standing behind her. The past and present versions of her are different individuals, but as a person, I can't see her as a completely different being. Because of that, I can't treat her purely as this life's Bu Qianghua. That's why I've avoided creating opportunities to face her directly. But somehow, we ended up in a moment like this, facing each other alone. Opening and closing my mouth, I finally settle on a proper title. Taoist. Just call me Taoist CEO. No. Since I am no longer a cult leader, please do so. I consider my current position and decide to address her respectfully, as I used to. However, she responds somewhat awkwardly. You can just speak comfortably. After all, you are an elder and my senior. The mention of elder makes me feel somewhat sad, but I shake my head and reply. Before, our relationship within the organization dictated a certain formality, but now that we walk the same path of immortal cultivation, it's only right that I show respect. If that's what you wish, I understand. Taoist CEO. She tilts her head slightly, looking a bit awkward as she calls me Taoist. For a moment, silence hangs between us. Do you have something to say, miss? Reading the subtle emotions on her face, I ask her. At my question, she hesitates for a moment before speaking. I have one thing I'm curious about, Taoist CEO. She shows me the blueprint she's been drawing beside me. This is, looking closely, it's not exactly a magic artifact blueprint, but rather a kind of system, similar to the Mad Lord circuits. However, while it seems influenced by the Mad Lord, it clearly appears to be something entirely unique. A remarkable artifact system. What type of artifact system is this for? This is a system for analyzing qi and projecting scenes. Oh, like a vid. A few hundred years ago, Taoist CEO gave me this. She gently strokes the jade naraigi hanging from her waist. Ever since the day Taoist CEO gave this to me, I've been studying it, and I've discovered that this naraigi is always connected to somewhere. And when I focus my consciousness, I can shift my consciousness to somewhere filled with thick, hazy mist through this naraigi. Recently, after meeting Taoist CEO, I realized that the place of hazy mist is within your canvas of myriad forms and connections. Bu Qianghua looks directly into my eyes as she speaks. Until now, Taoist CEO has never properly answered why that is. That's why I've been researching it all this time. After meeting Senior Mad Lord, I was able to grasp a significant clue, a technique that disassembles qi and traces a target's past. With this, I plan to trace the causality between Taoist CEO's canvas of myriad forms and connections and my naraigi. I quickly realize what she plans to do, just like what Ohaya CEO did, or what the Black Dragon Immortal Beast did. She plans to trace my past and uncover the truth behind the naraigi. But as seen in the cases of both the Black Dragon Immortal Beast and Ohaya CEO, the secret of the canvas of myriad forms and connections is not something that can be easily unraveled. Both of them have the authority to trace the past, yet they still failed. In other words, unless Bu Qianghua's abilities surpass those of the Black Dragon Immortal Beast, I don't have to worry about her discovering my secret. However, since I understand why she's saying this to me directly, I can't carelessly dismiss her actions as being useless. If it's the eyes of Taoist CEO, you probably know why I'm telling you this right now, since you possess the same eyes as Sir Younghun. Behind her subtle heart essence lies overwhelming despair and sorrow, and a deep determination. Please don't ask me for the reason, but I will say this. Uncovering the truth about the naraigi is one of my deepest wishes, so I won't give up easily. In other words, she is implying that if I don't want her to challenge and uncover the past between me and the naraigi, I'd better tell her the truth. But I can't. In this world, I've come to painfully realize that speaking something aloud holds tremendous impact. So I respond vaguely. This is related to true immortals, so I can't speak of it lightly. If mishandled, Mrs. Life could be at risk. It's fine. She looks at me as if life and death doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. So if there's anything you can tell me, please do. It's something I cannot speak of. Please understand. I understand. She nods, seemingly bitter. I guess I'll just have to do what I can, to the best of my ability. Miss Book. Then, please excuse me. I will take my leave. Please rest and join us when Taoist CEO is ready. With those words, Bu Qianghua turns and swiftly exits the guest room. Seeing her heart essence, I feel conflicted. I gradually feel my consciousness domain and authority returning, transcending space to the outside of the guest room. I head towards the place where qi and intent are clashing. There, centered around Kim Young-hoon, 22 shadows are colliding their intents. Chwararik. The martial scene they are painting momentarily shakes my foresight. Each one of them can be considered masters who have reached the ultimate of martial arts. They are confronting Kim Young-hoon, who is specialized in speed, using their own secret techniques, and they bombard him with moves that keep up without falling behind. On the surface, it looks as if the projections of the Heart Tribe's Supreme Council are just standing still around Kim Young-hoon. But with my vision, Having reached the plane of soul, I can see the massive currents of intent raging. Normally, their will alone should have stirred up an overwhelming storm in reality, but everyone here is restraining themselves to the point where not even a speck of energy leaks out. They are competing purely in skill, so the battle of intent occurring at the plane of soul is not affecting the physical world at all. Yuna. Yes. Kim Yun quietly appears beside me the moment I speak, and I raise an eyebrow. Centered around the demon core within her body, I see that her intent has perfectly balanced into 9 strands. If this were before, I would have missed that movement. It isn't a matter of martial skill or realm. Martial artists accelerate their minds through techniques like Ultimate Pinnacle, but cultivators beyond the nascent soul stage can simply accelerate their minds through their vast consciousness. They don't even need to divide their consciousness into forms like a gangsphere clone and then merge them again. By just compressing their consciousness, their mind gradually accelerates. This is how cultivators at the nascent soul stage and beyond use techniques like the flying escape technique to fight at high speeds in battle. The hidden consciousness technique, given to me by Mad Lord, similarly compresses my consciousness to accelerate my senses, allowing me to feel spiritual energy through the spiritual route. So compressing consciousness itself is a way to accelerate the mind. Currently, with her demon core as the center, Kim Yun is aligning her consciousness, like the demon race, and compressing it, adding a 10-fold acceleration to her already compressed consciousness. Before even considering the level of her cultivation, albeit through a somewhat abnormal growth, she now possesses speed surpassing the integration stage. If she's already this fast with Ultimate Pinnacle, which allows consciousness to simply become speed. If she reaches entering heavens beyond the path, where consciousness can be directly converted into power, what kind of authority will Kim Yun wield? Suddenly, I become curious. Of course, reaching entering heavens beyond the path isn't something that can be solved just by pouring in time, so it's hard to say how long it will take. I set away my thoughts about the distant, uncertain future and speak to her. Do you know how long I've been unconscious? It's been exactly 3 days. It's also been a while since we came to the Heart Tribe territory to avoid Minhe Uni, and the human race has been in a psychological warfare with the Heart Tribe's Supreme Council to find a place to settle while waiting for you to wake up. TL/N. Kim Yun uses in, which means you, but it has the nuanced meaning of dear between spouses, being polite or formal, or being disrespectful or confrontational. Something has changed. I glance at Kim Yun with a sense of strangeness. The way she addresses me has subtly changed. It isn't the Unhyun Appa she comfortably used before. It feels like she's keeping a distance, yet at the same time, it seems she's even closer to me. Kim Yun continues explaining. Because of Minhe Uni, the original human race territory has become a land of ghosts where no living being can survive, just like the Nether Ghost realm. Other territories near the human race lands that were suitable for human habitation have ended up the same way. As a result, the Nether Ghost realm is also preparing to invade the Bright Cold realm. They say it will take about 1,000 years to restore the land to its original state. However, according to the judgment of the Grand Cultivator Association, the rampaging Minhe Uni, in other words the ghost-guiding Holy Mother, will inevitably return to the Bright Cold realm within a few hundred years due to the attraction force between her and the realm. It means that in the end, we've completely lost our original foundation, and a beast that has lost its den will eventually find a new one. It seems the human race wants the Heart Tribe territory as their new home. Yes, the Heart Tribe territory is in the Chaos realm, so even if Minhe Uni returns, it won't be easy for her to find it. Moreover, it's one of the stable lands within the Chaos realm, so they believe it's a safe place to live. That's why the Grand Cultivator Association is proposing to expel all of the Heart Tribe from the Heart Tribe territory and take over. Foolish. I click my tongue. It's a land that Jangik stabilized in the first place, so what do they plan to do when Jangik returns? Jangik himself is supposed to return in a few hundred years. As I click my tongue, Kim Yun continues her explanation. But the entire Grand Cultivator Association was brutally defeated by the Heart Tribe Supreme Council, and Younghoon Sunbae alone is dealing with the aftermath to prevent the entire human race from being annihilated. They recklessly stretched out their legs without even properly checking where they were going to lie down. They've underestimated the Heart Tribe far too much. The 22 members of the Supreme Council. They must be Jangik's 22 disciples. I can sense it. Each one of them is a supreme expert of seated detachment, entering hope. In other words, there are 22 people who can unleash a single strike at the Grand Perfection integration level during emergencies. Moreover, among them must be some at a higher level who can unleash consecutive Grand Perfection integration level single strikes. The Heart Tribe is one of the 3 great powers of the Bright Cold realm. If one considers that the 6 great races of the Heaven Tribe account for 60% of the Heaven Tribe's power, while the other races make up 40%, then the current strength of humanity is only around 1/10 of the Heaven tribes. Even though the Heart tribe is the weakest of the three great powers, they still have enough strength to overpower the human race, which is just a part of the Heaven tribe. Step. While I'm silently assessing the human race, someone approaches from a distance. It's a maiden with white hair and red eyes, wearing light armor of violet and white. You've woken up. I pause, trying to recall who she is, and eventually, her identity comes to mind. Cultivator Gol? Her identity is none other than Gol Make of the Grand Cultivator Association. Since she usually hides her body within her rugged bone armor, it took me a moment to recognize her in this state with just her body. Kim Yun, seeing her, explains further. The entire Grand Cultivator Association is currently imprisoned by the Heart tribe, except for Grand Cultivator Gol Make. She was the only one who fiercely opposed fighting against the Heart tribe. Gol Make sighs and speaks. It was simply a rational decision. Aside from me, none of the other Grand Cultivators, except for Han 1 and Y Ryangxian, have ever directly fought against the Heart tribe. Even then, Y Ryangxian only fought against Heart tribe members below the second stage of manifestation, and Han 1, who has some proper fighting experience against them, is currently unconscious due to an internal clash of yin and yang energy. That's why the others didn't realize how terrifying the Heart tribe is and rushed in recklessly, only to end up imprisoned. That's strange. The Grand Cultivators must have lived for at least thousands of years. How could they not have experience fighting against the Heart tribe, nor understand their fearsomeness? I'm puzzled, but I understand immediately after Gol Make speaks. Most of those who fought even once against a Heart tribe of the third stage of manifestation or higher died before they could rise to the rank of Grand Cultivator. Indeed, even ordinary cultivators are struck by 2,400 strands of heavenly tribulation when advancing to the integration stage. However, if they have a history of fighting against a Heart tribe at the third stage of manifestation, the number of heavenly tribulation strands increases to 3,600 without question. Even if they manage to fight after reaching the integration stage, once they've fought, they would never be able to attempt another advancement again. Thus, it might be that reaching the position of Grand Cultivator is only possible if you avoid fighting the Heart tribe. In any case, Sir Young-hoon is currently communicating with the Heart Tribe Supreme Council to prevent the entire Grand Cultivator Association from being executed. Communicating, huh? I look at them exchanging scenes furiously with intent, blending in enlightenment. It is a form of communication, I suppose. And, as I briefly look toward Kim Young-hoon and the Supreme Council, Gol Make bows deeply to me. Please forgive us for not fully grasping the Elder's true intentions earlier. In the end, you were right. Elder is the savior of all humanity. I merely did what had to be done. It seems even the Grand Cultivator Association has come to understand what I did. How could the salvation of humanity be something that's merely what had to be done? Your merits will be remembered for generations to come. Thanks. And, if I may ask for one favor, please ensure that Sir Young-hoon remains safe. She looks at me as she speaks. Although it seems he is communicating with the Supreme Council, should things go wrong. Only the Elders saving him can ensure the future for our human race. Indeed, no matter how exceptional a martial artist Kim Young-hoon is, if he were to duel with the leaders of the Heart tribe, who have a history of being abused by humans, there's a chance they might try to kill him. Though, that doesn't seem likely from the look of things right now. Currently, the Supreme Council of the Heart tribe, who are sparring with Kim Young-hoon, are all feeling excitement, admiration, and respect. It doesn't seem like such a request is necessary. All right, if Kim Young-hoon is in danger, I will step in. Thank you. I accept the proposal, feeling like I'm clearing a debt. Gol Make thanks me several times, then hurries off, saying she'll deliver the good news to the Grand Cultivator Association. For a moment, I stand next to Kim Yun, watching Kim Young-hoon spar. Kim Yun, having a level of sight around entering heavens due to the wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon. And me. For both of us, the spar using intent is as clear as day, like watching fireworks. We can fully observe the exchange of intent between Kim Young-hoon and the Supreme Council of the Heart tribe. As I watch the display of fireworks, I turn to Kim Yun and speak. Yun, yes. You have something to say, don't you? I ask while sensing Kim Yun's emotions. Though she's pretending to be fine, her mind is so devastated that it feels like she might collapse at any moment. Her sudden change in how she addresses me must be related to this. Kim Yun takes a deep breath beside me. It seems she's trying to control the overwhelming emotions welling up inside her. After a moment of gathering herself, Kim Yun slowly reveals a shocking truth. At last, I understand why Bu Qianghua came to me with that request earlier. Qianghua, she's going to die soon. Chapter 430, Her too. Pat it. Sparks fly as Kim Young-hoon lets out a joyful laugh, beads of sweat running down his face. Swoosh. The wind sweeps through cedarwood grove, cooling the heat of the sparring match. I stand in the breeze, waiting for Kim Yun's words. The Mad Lord told me, when she went to his wonderfully mysterious fortress. Her words continue, and I listen silently. After some time, the members of the Supreme Council, having finished their sparring with Kim Young-hoon, all turn their heads toward me in unison. We've heard much about you, that you've reached this realm through the same means as us, despite having the body of the Heaven tribe. After absorbing all of Kim Yun's explanation, I silently take a step towards the Supreme Council of the Heart tribe. Thunk. With just a single step, the members of the Supreme Council who had been directing their intent at me freeze in place. They stare at me, frozen, and even Kim Young-hoon beyond them shares the same reaction. Kim Young-hoon's eyes are wide enough to pop out of his head. I look at them calmly, letting my sword hang by my side. A slight nod. No words are needed. With a mere nod of my head, light flashes, and the 22 leaders of the Supreme Council, who only sent projections to face Kim Young-hoon, reveal their main bodies within the hall. We nearly failed to recognize a high person, Galrun. Please forgive us. I simply continue to gaze at them silently. But even though I'm merely looking at them, they tremble all over, unable to bear the pressure of my presence and on the verge of collapsing. In that state, I take another silent step forward. At that moment, most of the 22 members of the Supreme Council start trembling violently, falling to their knees and collapsing in place. It seems that upon gazing directly at my soul, which has realized the Subheart Sword, none of them are able to maintain their composure. The Subheart Sword is something beyond comprehension for those around the level of entering heavens beyond the path or treading heavens. However, the very fact that they are at a high realm means they can see too much, making the shock all the more overwhelming. Kim Young-hoon, in particular, seems the most affected, as he grips his saber against the ground, cold sweat pouring down his face uncontrollably. But indeed, they are the leaders of the Heart tribe. Despite being directly exposed to my overwhelming presence, they manage to stand and regain their composure. I shift my gaze towards the 5 among them who respond best to my pressure. Their appearances are unimpressive. A little one from the small person race, a flower plant race with a body shriveled like a spinach leaf, a shrimp shell race that resembles a shrimp, a miniature monkey race that looks like a small, baby monkey, and a tiny fungal race that resembles a mushroom. Yet despite their frail appearances, they seem more formidable than anyone else present. Among them, one figure stands out the most. He is of the small person race, standing no more than 1 palm's length, a dwarf Heart tribe. The small person race is one of the well-known slave races, resembling the human race but far weaker and possessing little to no supernatural powers, making them easy prey and often captured and kept as pets. Yet, the elderly small person race, standing before me with his face covered in scars, doesn't appear small at all. Holding a needle like a sword in his hand, the small person race elder looks up at me and speaks. Teach me a move. Huh. With the old man's shout, the 5 members of the Heart tribe charge at me with a unified cry. From this point, words are no longer needed. Their combined assault begins. Pot. The small person race elder, wielding his needle like a sword, executes a sword technique before me and waves his toothpick-sized needle. Though it appears somewhat cute, the outcome is far from that. Tung. As I deflect the slash from the old dwarf's needle upwards, the sky splits apart. A move similar to sky-splitting Kim Young-hoon shown before. An all-out strike carried out with the intent to cut through the entire Heart tribe territory. The withered body of the flower plant race seems to be flying over me before striking down at me using the 1,000-pound drop technique. Swoosh. As I sidestep using footwork, a flash of light follows, and the spot where the flower plant race lands with the 1,000-pound drop explodes, causing the surrounding terrain to shift and change violently. Kugagugagu. In the midst of the explosive brilliance, I calmly raise my sword and turn my gaze towards the shrimp shell race charging at me. They seem to be a boxer, and with their shrimp-like body, they thrust both fists toward me. It's clearly a laughable scene, appearing nothing more than a shrimp flailing its arms. But I smile faintly and swing my sword with all my strength. Kugagugum. Pot. As my single strike clashes with the shrimp shell race boxer's punch, a formless shockwave blankets the entire area. It feels as though all sound in the area has been erased. The shockwave causes my body to lose function for a moment, and a ringing, pie sound fills my ears. Boom. Of course, I quickly regain my balance and prepare for the next attack. The baby monkey-like miniature monkey race rushes at me, grabbing hold of the ground beneath my feet. Fung. Simultaneously, they swing the very ground I'm standing on, throwing me off balance. The mushroom-looking tiny fungal race stretches out both palms toward me. Kigajigigik. Their palms are filled with an immense concentration of chi, and I can feel that everything within that energy is rapidly disintegrating, nearing the point of annihilation. Behind me, the small person race elder. Above me, the flower plant race warrior. Below my feet, the miniature monkey race. In front of me, the tiny fungal race and shrimp shell race boxers. They are all closing in on me. Beyond them, the remaining 17 leaders of the Supreme Council, having assessed the situation, are attempting to distract my vision by disrupting me from a distance. Those who have awakened to the manifestation of sound arts like Yu Hua begin their performance. With the sharp sound of a gaegeum, a traditional Korean zither, my body is immediately slashed, and an inescapable formless net covers me, making my whole body feel as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Darkness clouds my vision, and the blood flowing through my body grows hot, leaving me in a state unable to control my body. And in that state, I silently extend my sword and begin to dance with them. Tum. My sword hums as it deflects their attacks, sometimes redirecting them, and other times countering them. It seeps out. My sword naturally flows into the center of their formation, like a stream slipping between rocks. In the midst of our sword dance, we become completely united. I can feel their intent, the exultation of facing an opponent beyond comparison and competing against a master. Joy, excitement, reverence, and respect. I envelop their intent with my own. I overlay their martial arts with my own martial arts. It feels bleak, painful, miserable, suffocating. The vision is black. The Grand Cultivator Association gave me the nickname Sword Devil. I have no interest in such a grim title, but at least in this moment, I think it suits me all too well. That's how much my sword right now is steeped in dreadful screams and heartbreak. A hollow yet dreadful sword movement spirals within my refined swordsmanship as I intertwine with the supreme masters of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council. Kim Yun's earlier words echo faintly in my mind. When the Mad Lord first met Hua, he mistook her for one of his own bloodline. The old man with the needle lands at the tip of my sword, spins 7 times counterclockwise, and unleashes a powerful slash with the accumulated rotational force. He said that in the head realm, the extraordinary pattern law talent is actually a heavenly penalty that only his bloodline bears. Using my right foot as a pivot, I spin clockwise, shaking off the elder and dispersing the rotational force of the slash he sent flying. But he quickly realized that Hua isn't of his bloodline. He said that those with the extraordinary pattern law talent all bear a curse, and since the curses differ depending on the bloodline, Hua not having the same curse as his is proof that she isn't of his kin. Woo-woo. My sword vibrates. I continue sparring with the Supreme Council without using any chi. However, my emotions are being expressed through my swordsmanship, and my pain descends from the plane of soul to the plane of chi. The surroundings gradually begin to be engulfed by devilish energy. The Mad Lord said that the extraordinary pattern law talent is like a bird trapped in a cage. A bird that cannot leave the cage. It's the first time I heard it, but he said those with the extraordinary pattern law talent must never leave the world they were born in. Their heavenly penalty and curse begins the moment they escape their world. In other words, those born with the extraordinary pattern law talent in the lower realms must never ascend. The surroundings are painted in darkness, and my sword energy slices through the air in all directions. Without drawing upon the energy within me or the heaven and earth spiritual energy, my sheer intensity causes my intent at the plane of soul to descend to the plane of chi, transforming into turbid energy. Amidst the torrent of devilish energy, a golden radiance pieces through between the 22 intents surrounding me. Kwon. Kim Young-hoon, unable to resist any longer, has stepped into the fray. But I push Kim Young-hoon's saber aside and recklessly unleash a barrage of sword energy. The curse of the Zhou clan is said to be tied to their surname. I'm not sure of the details, but even though Hua's curse is different, they do share some common points. The sword dance that started with clam emotions has at some point turned into a killing sword. I struggle to suppress the rising dark emotions within me, pouring more killing intent into my blade. Those cursed are said to eventually die. The Mad Lord connected his heart with her and forcibly tethered his soul to this land using the ghostly energy of the Nether Crossing ship's power source. And Hua's Kang. My sword sends the old man with the needle flying. And finally, flash. The sword pressure unfolding from my sword spreads out, knocking back the 22 members of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council along with Kim Young-hoon, allowing me to finally calm down, gradually losing the senses of her body. At this rate, not in centuries, but within mere decades, she'll lose all her 5 senses. Eventually, even the sense of breathing will vanish, and she'll die. Clench. I thrust the sword into the ground. I exhale. My chest feels tight. Right now, there's no connection between me and Buk Hua. But strangely, my chest still feels heavy. I know the reason all too well. Even though the woman in this life is different from the one from the 10th life, witnessing her death again is agonizing. No, that's not it. To be precise, it's not just that. How many times has it been already? It wasn't long ago that I lost my followers to Great Mountain, or that I died while holding Kong Minhee in my arms. And now, once again, it's been decided that one of my connections is going to disappear. Yes, this is loneliness. The dam of emotions, which had always struggled with the pain of losing connections, is now beginning to overflow with the finality of Book Hyangwa's terminal fate. Squeeze. I grip the colorless glass sword tightly and slowly suppress my complicated emotions. And at that moment, the Heart Tribe Supreme Council, led by the small person race elder, bows deeply to me. It's an honor to witness such incredible skill. I'm ashamed. I give a bitter smile, unable to meet their eyes, nor those of Kim Yun watching from behind me. I simply look up at the sky and speak. I failed to control my emotions, and turbid energy tainted my sword path. Is that so? Aren't you going to ask why? If you wish to tell us, go ahead. Most of us in the Heart Tribe have lived under abuse and torment, carrying 100 or even 1,000 pains within us. Thus, in Cedarwood Grove, we do not have the custom of prying into each other's hearts. Thank you. Looking at those who show me such courtesy, I feel embarrassed, yet overwhelmed by anger, sorrow, and indescribable panic. I lower my head, trembling. Seeing me like this, the small person race elder smiles gently and says, "In any case, after exchanging blades, I understand. Neither you nor that person are evil. Even though you couldn't steady your heart, you never resorted to a killing move in the end. Respecting your kind heart, we of Cedarwood Grove will accept you and the surpassing radiant divine demon as members of our forest. I thank you once again, but..." I calm my troubled heart, unsettled by thoughts of Bu Qianghua, and ask a question. What do you plan to do about the human race? In the end, that is the biggest issue. What we just competed in was a pure martial contest, and that's the only reason I won. If we were to truly go all out, I would be the one who would surely lose. Why? Well, they're all disciples of Jangik. Within their heart essence, as if it's the most natural thing, Jangik's Padao is embedded in each of them. At their level, they are skilled enough to sufficiently draw out Jangik's Padao through their own will and wield it with Jangik's original power. In short, the moment I decide to oppose them, I will have to endure at least 22 single strikes at the star-shattering stage. Woo-woo. I observe the energy within me. I've reached the second step before the throne. Now, it is possible for me to use star-shattering level attacks. Of course, only for about 3 moves. It will still take much more time before I can become fully accustomed to this realm. As such, in my current relationship with the Heart Tribe, I can only take the position of the weaker party. At my question, they seem to exchange glances before responding. Normally, we would go through a trial before carrying out a sentence. How is the trial conducted? It's simple. It proceeds according to one's cultivation realm. For the grand cultivators at the integration stage and the old monsters at the 4-axis stage, our Supreme Council conducts a duel with them, during which we uncover their emotions and ideologies, essence, and past deeds. If any evil acts are revealed in the process, we execute them immediately. For those at the heavenly being stage and nascent soul stage, they are made to face the wall for 10 days while undergoing interrogation. Anyone who shows suspicious signs during this process is sentenced to death. From the core formation stage onwards, we conduct a more detailed inquiry, dividing the types of execution based on the severity of their sins. This ranges from a merciful beheading to harsher punishments like imprisonment until death or execution by boiling. For those at the Qi building stage, we subject them to a proper interrogation period, where those who have committed heinous offenses face death, while those with fewer crimes are sentenced to imprisonment or hard labor. Qi refining cultivators are generally sentenced to labor. There's too many executions. There's no other choice, is there? To us, the Heaven Tribe and the Earth Tribe are not targets for rehabilitation or salvation, but subjects of judgment. If someone is truly innocent and has never unjustly tormented the weak, even if they are a grand cultivator at the integration stage who practices devilish arts, we do not punish them. The small person race elder lets out a faint laugh and adds, "Of course, when it comes to the human race, one of the 6 great Heaven Tribe races, even if they are Qi refining cultivators, the vast majority take the sacrifices of others as if it's something completely natural, trampling over them. Most of the human race is evil." His words are full of contempt, but I can't deny them. The sheer number of vengeful souls Kong Minhee absorbed in the human race territory alone is enough to hint at the depth of humanity's sins. Still, I look at the small person race elder and ask, if you truly intended to do such a thing, you would have wiped out the human race before I even woke up. Yet, you waited, and only after I came out did you inform me of all this. Doesn't that mean there's something you want from me? At my words, the small person race elder smiles. You are correct. Tell me what you want. In response to my words, the elder bows politely and says, I understand that you did not use your full strength in our earlier sparring match. That is true. If I really used my full power, the Heart Tribe territory would have been completely destroyed, leaving no one, Heart Tribe or otherwise, alive. Please exchange a genuine single strike with one of us. What? If one of us can face your true strike, we will delay our judgment of humanity's sins. I can sense the burning desire in their eyes. The chance to face a master of a higher realm is extremely rare for us, especially since we've already reached the pinnacle of the first step before the throne. Don't you agree, O esteemed one? I momentarily open and close my mouth at their words, then gaze at them with a gloomy expression as I speak. I'm sorry. I respect your enlightenment. I also have the desire to compete with you. However, now is not the time. Why not? My state of mind is unstable. If I get serious, I might end up killing you. I have only recently lost my followers to Great Mountain, and I only recently held Kong Minhee in my arms as I committed suicide. Now, on top of that, I learned of Bu Qianghua's terminal diagnosis. One after another, all my connections are leaving my side. SSSSSSSSSS. As I recall that fact, turbid energy, ghostly energy, and devilish energy once again rise around me. I don't want to kill those who have treated me as a guest. Please, if possible, come to me after I've calmed my heart. Upon hearing my words, the faces of the 22 Supreme Council leaders all twist into expressions as menacing as evil spirits. O esteemed one, may I say something? As much as you wish. We dare not claim to understand how you feel, esteemed one. No, none of us can truly understand each other's feelings. The words of the old man from the small person race are quite amusing. Isn't it because we possess the ability to read others' heart essences that we are called the Heart Tribe? Yet, from the mouth of one from the Heart Tribe, who possesses this sight, comes the words that one cannot truly understand another's feelings? It's a strange statement. I think I understand. But somehow, I feel like I can understand his words. We possess the eyes to peer into the heart, but no matter how much we read, it's merely an outward reflection. It's impossible to truly stand in someone else's shoes and offer genuine comfort. That's why, in our cedarwood grove, not only is it an unspoken rule not to pry into others' emotions, but we also forbid offering careless consolation. Comforting someone is only permissible between those who share a deep connection. He meets my gaze. Thus, none of us will comfort you, esteemed one. None of us will claim to understand your heart. However, just as we have not dared to judge you carelessly, we ask that you do not judge us carelessly either. Who among us do you think fears death? Boom. All 22 members of the Supreme Council step forward in unison and shout. To see the realm beyond, we are all willing to discard our lives at any moment. Stop with your strange words and show us your true strength. I look at them, feeling slightly incredulous. They call me esteemed one, but they don't treat me like how an ordinary cultivator would treat an esteemed one. To most cultivators, esteemed ones are akin to gods. Thus, when dealing with an esteemed one, they wouldn't dare to look at them directly, nor would they act in any way other than a devout follower obeying the command of their deity. But these people are different. You've raised good disciples, Master. Even if it means death, each of them possess the spirit to speak their minds to a god then die. No, it's precisely because they are such people that they became members of the Heart Tribe, reached entering heavens, and rose to this level. There's one more issue. What is it? I give them a bitter smile as I speak. I, too, am a disciple of the heaven-collapsing esteemed one. In other words, if I were to kill any of you, as a fellow disciple, I would be killing my own senior brothers and sisters. So, what does that matter? The small person race elder shouts once more with a thunderous voice. Stop with the formalities and focus on sincerity. Besides, even if we are senior brothers and sisters, discussing enlightenment between us is only natural. If you've gained enlightenment ahead of us, then help guide your slower senior brothers and sisters. The old man's words leave me momentarily speechless, and I finally respond with a complex gaze. Understood. Squirm, squirm. I control the darkness welling up within me, the murderous intent rising from my chest, and ask, so, who among you will receive this junior brother's sincere strike? As expected, the small person race elder steps forward. I shall be the one. I stare at him for a moment before speaking. Do not regret this. I will have no regrets. Then here I come. TSTSTSTST. The speed at which our consciousnesses accelerate grows faster and faster. In an instant, the surroundings darken, and only the two of us remain in this world. Here, physical size or any bodily constraints no longer matter. What remains is simply how one counters the other's techniques. Subheart Sword. From the start, I unleash my most powerful technique. To present an ambiguous move in front of someone who has shown such resolve would be an insult to my opponent. I pour everything I have into this one move. Transcending mountain ridge embedment. The heart sword that emerges from my heart essence digs into his heart essence at a speed faster than recognition. A single sword that cuts away at the heart every time he recalls me. But this is not the end. The application of transcending mountain ridge embedment. Padded. Transcending rivers embedment. Chansha Yirshun. The mountain grows steeper the further one climbs, and the river deepens the more one crosses. A person's heart is just like this. One step inside becomes as deep as 10, the end never in sight. The subheart sword that cuts through the heart at the plane of soul merges with the ability of the all-heavens sword and descends to the plane of chi. In short, Pukwakak. Originally, transcending mountain ridge embedment merely cuts the heart upon perceiving me, causing pain. But now, it means that perceiving me will cut even the physical body. Kwakak. The needle he is holding snaps. But I can sense it clearly. He countered it. Though it was far from perfect, he confronted the form of transcending mountain ridge embedment. If his output had been as high as that of the heaven or earth tribes, he might have completely shattered my subheart sword. But that's all. In the end, one of the leaders of the Supreme Council, the old man from the small person race, died standing. I know. When I unleashed the subheart sword, I succeeded in perfectly controlling my emotions. However, because the small person race elder had faced me with his full power, this death was caused by the rebound of that elder's force. Rest in peace, senior brother. Senior brother. Senior brother. The leaders of the Supreme Council all pay their respects in unison towards the small person race elder. I know who he was. The highest-ranking disciple of Jiang X's current students. The vice leader of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council. At this moment, in Jiang X's absence, he was the acting leader of the Heart Tribe. Senior brother Jiang Chong. Your noble spirit will be remembered forever. The swordsman of the small person race, Jiang Chong. On my first day of waking up in the Heart Tribe Cedarwood Grove, I killed Jiang X's oldest disciple. Author's note. The subtle brilliance of Foolish Old Man Moves Mountains begins with the growing volume of its content. Chapter 431, Her 3. Shia. Rain begins to fall after the death of the small person race elder. The river bend of Jiangchong is known as sudden wind, sudden rain. The warrior of the flower plant race approaches and tells me the name of the manifestation Jiangchong possessed. You must have witnessed the sudden, overwhelming power that surged from that small needle during the exchange of techniques. Indeed, it was exactly like that. It was a strength that couldn't have come from such a small body. How is that possible? I have already guessed the reason, but I ask wanting to hear more detail. Jiang Chong was an individual, yet not just an individual. He was the king, the lord, of the countless members of the small person race gathered in Cedarwood Grove. He was always connected to his people, borrowing their strength to fight. By gathering their small amounts of energy, he amplified his power in an instant, like how sudden raindrops falling can cause a disaster. That was Jiang Chang's river bend. And, as you might have guessed, if someone borrows something, they must eventually return it. Shia, I watch as Jiang Chang's intent, mixed with the rainwater, disperses and fades away. It's a grand spectacle. The massive clump of intent that just moments ago had been sending power to Jiang Chong from the sky, now expresses the grief of losing its king, saturating the air with energy and causing the rain to pour. Underneath the scattering raindrops, the strength that Jiang Chong gathered from his people returns to its original owners. But that isn't the end. If you borrow something, you must return it with interest. The king of the small person race has returned all the enlightenment and determination he gained in his last battle to the people who lent him their strength. I see. I now understand why Jiang Chong accepted my subheart sword without retreating a single step. Was his lifespan already nearing its end? Yes. The lifespan of the small person race is less than 1/5 that of the human race. Even if they rise to the first step before the throne, they can only live 2,000 or 3,000 years at most. Jiang Chong managed to live 3 times the maximum lifespan, reaching 20,000 years by consuming spiritual herbs and spirit fruits of Cedarwood Grove, as well as stolen spiritual elixirs from the cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes. But that seemed to be his limit. A king who sacrificed himself as an offering for his people, raising the entire race to a higher realm. That was Jiang Chong. That was the man before me who, in order to gain enlightenment, saw the Tao in the morning and died in the evening. I turned to the flower plant race warrior and asked a question. You, too, seemed willing to risk your life like Jiang Chong. May I ask why? It's difficult to explain in detail, but all of us have our own circumstances and the twists and turns of life. After going through countless storms and tribulations, we have still survived, sharpening our resolve to reach this level. That is who we are. They look at me with serious eyes and speak. My name is Ryo Hua, Liawa, beautiful flower, a disciple of the heaven collapsing esteemed one. While it's difficult to tell you my entire life story, one thing is certain. Even if it had been me standing in front of Junior Brother just moments ago, not only I, but everyone in the Supreme Council, no, anyone at the 3rd stage of manifestation or higher, would have cast aside their life without hesitation. Only then do I fully realize that this is the territory of the Heart Tribe, a land where anyone who can fight possesses something more precious than their life. People who are willing to risk their lives, not for themselves, but for something else. We call such people kings. Thus, everyone here is an honorable king in their own right. A forest where trees grow to build a grand palace for kings. This is the cedarwood grove. I watch to the end as the small person race gathers to hold a funeral for their fallen king. Perhaps because I was connected to Jiang Chong and shared his emotions, none of the small person race bore any resentment towards me. A short yet intense encounter with Jiang Chong, followed by death, and the events that unfolded afterward. Through this single incident, I come to understand what kind of place the Heart Tribe territory truly is. Afterwards, I politely ask about the names of all 21 members of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council. Among them, I etch into my heart the names of the 5 individuals who withstood my pressure the best, including the king of the small person race, Jiang Chong, the king of the small person race, Jiang Chong, the great warrior of the miniature monkey race, Jehu, the grand elder of the tiny fungal race, Dokyang, the prophet of the flower plant race, Ryo Hua, the strongest of the shrimp shell race, Yu Yun. For some reason, I sense that I will be strongly intertwined with them even in Cedarwood Grove. And so, I truly became part of the Heart Tribe. Several days passed since I began interacting with the Heart Tribe. By the order of the Heart Tribe Supreme Council, I was guided to the outskirts of the Cedarwood Grove. There, they took me to a small shrine made of cedar. There is a request that our master left behind. According to it, Junior Brother must undergo seclusion within this cedar shrine. Seclusion. Ryo Hua, who became the vice leader of the Supreme Council after Jiang Chang's passing, nods her head. Yes, Master explicitly stated that if someone in the Heart Tribe reaches the second step before the throne after him, they must be isolated and forced into seclusion. He firmly warned that they must not leave the seclusion until certain conditions are met. I see. It seems a bit difficult to grasp at first, but I nod. Somehow, I feel like I understand Jangik's intentions. It's likely to properly consolidate the enlightenment gained from second step before the throne. The cultivation of the Heaven and Earth tribes does not easily fade, but the cultivation of the Heart Tribe can sometimes regress. Their cultivation relies solely on enlightenment. So if they forget their realization after rising in level, their realm can fall again. Jangik likely recommended seclusion to ensure that the enlightenment is fully internalized, preventing such loss. Inside the shrine made of cedar, which I enter following Ryo Hua, is a formation that prevents any light from entering, as if they're trying to express an impression of distant emptiness. What is the condition for leaving seclusion? It's simple. Wawoom. Ryo Hua raises a small, low-grade spirit stone in her hand. When the energy contained in this low-grade spirit stone fills the entire interior of the shrine, you may leave. It's a task similar to filling an entire house with a single coin. After gauging the energy in the spirit stone, I nod and sit down in the center of the dark shrine. Wawoom. Upon closer inspection, I notice that the interior of the shrine is spatially compressed, and once I sit in the center, it appears much more expansive. No, it's not space compression. It feels more like the space was remodeled, similar to when a planet was transformed into an environment habitable for living creatures by Jangik with his Padao. Well then, I wish you good fortune, Junior Brother. May you succeed in fulfilling Master's task and emerge from your seclusion. Understood. Creak thud. After saying her piece, Ryo Hua hands me the low-grade spirit stone and closes the shrine door. TSTSTSTSSS. In the darkness, the low-grade spirit stone emits a very faint light. It's about as much energy a martial artist could inhale in a single breath using their internal energy method. To think I have to fill this entire space with such a meager amount of energy, it seems like a difficult yet intriguing task. Since things have come to this, I should properly stabilize my realm before leaving. With my head already full of complex issues, such as Buk Hianghua and other matters, this seems like a good opportunity to organize my mind. Wuwang. As I observe my inner body, I simultaneously reach out with my consciousness to observe the current situation of humanity. Besides the space remodeling, there don't seem to be any restrictions. My consciousness easily slips outside the shrine. It seems the structure relies purely on the conscience of the person who entered to continue their cultivation earnestly. Humanity, for the most part, appears dissatisfied with having to live among the Heart Tribe, who were once their slave race. However, a few seem interested in the Heart Tribe's ways and are earnestly exploring martial arts. Particularly, Kim Young-hoon, a member of humanity who entered the Heart Tribe Supreme Council with dignity, has gathered quite the following. There's an amusing event where a strange group, called the Bright Cold Martial Alliance, has begun to form from his followers. John Myung-hoon, along with Yunwei and others, is holding a memorial service for the 4 disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect who had died recently. Oh Hyun-suk has been engaging in endless sparring with Azure Tiger Saint, gradually preparing to inherit the blue sky armor from him. And Kim Yun is with Book Hyunghwa. She is researching the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon while assisting in the creation of Book Hyunghwa's work. I briefly turn my gaze to where they are. Hyunghwa, how are your eyes? They've gotten a bit blurry. Book Hyunghwa's curse is said to gradually dull all her senses until they are completely lost, eventually paralyzing her nervous system and killing her. Though called a curse, it's essentially a heavenly penalty that came with her extraordinary pattern law talent, and there's no way to reverse it. Last time, Kim Yun asked me whether it might be possible to capture Book Hyunghwa's soul in the same manner as the Mad Lord, using the power of the Nether Crossing ship's power source. But I rejected that idea. Having been trapped in a puppet for 1,000 years myself, I know clearly that such a state is neither truly living nor truly dead, a fate worse than death. Crack. Book Hyunghwa's condition has worsened recently. She mentioned that her eyes occasionally became blurry when she woke up, or that she would lose the feeling in her fingertips. But now, the heavenly penalty seems to be advancing rapidly. I can roughly guess the cause. Great Mountain. Her condition started rapidly deteriorating after leaving the ancient force realm. Then, the most significant event during that time must be the cause. What more? Are you trying to take from me again? Clench. I grip the ground near me. Grains of dirt press under my fingernails, and I can feel the soil in my palm. I have no idea what to do. Am I just supposed to helplessly watch as Book Hyunghwa slowly dies? If I use the Extinguishing Divine Tribulating Heavens technique, would it not work? If I overlay Book Hyunghwa's fate with the Extinguishing Divine Tribulating Heavens technique, it isn't entirely impossible. But there's a problem with that too. The Extinguishing Divine Tribulating Heavens technique is a method that, by offering a sacrifice, changes one's fate by giving misfortune. To use this on someone else, I'd be offering myself as the sacrifice, giving the other misfortune. It would become an immortal art that changes one's fate. In other words, even if I use it on Book Hyunghwa, I will die, and she will have to live her entire life amidst misfortune and disaster. She wouldn't want that either. Just what am I supposed to do? While I suddenly feel emotional, I suppress the rising heart demon. It's dangerous. Until now, there haven't been many heart demons that posed a threat to me. That's because I, myself, am a more dangerous heart demon than all my other heart demons combined. Usually, when heart demons approach me, it's I who devours them. But I feel it's different this time. With Book Hyunghwa's terminal diagnosis acting as the catalyst, I feel all the heart demons I've devoured so recklessly until now trying to burst out from within my stomach. If a heart demon erupts this time, all the heart demons I've consumed in agony up to now will erupt in unison. Cedarwood Grove will turn into hell. It isn't just a metaphor. There's a high chance that the monsters born from the evolved Black Blood Tears flower will burst forth all at once and plunge Cedarwood Grove into an abyss of curses. Moreover, since there are no special restrictive formations inside the shrine, it's even more dangerous. First, calm down. I shift my thoughts back to cultivation in an attempt to suppress the swirling emotions of rage and despair. I retract my consciousness that I extended outside the shrine back within. Whoom. For some reason, the light from the lowest grade spirit stone in front of me dims. It's only emitting light. Normally, it should emit light for several years. It seems the stone doesn't have much energy, even for a lowest grade. I stop focusing on the spiritual stone and cross my legs in meditation, delving into repentant enlightenment. Whoom. My current cultivation is at the late integration stage. Whoom. The divine powers of time, wind, cold, heat, and sunlight are active within my domain. In the final moments of my past life, after consuming the heavenly lotus fruit, my very essence nearly twisted due to a heart demon. But the effects were certain. My cultivation surged to the grand perfection integration stage. And from that point, I shaved off my cultivation until I reached the second step before the throne, eventually stabilizing at the late integration stage. Normally, upon regression, my cultivation should have reverted back to the early integration stage. However, my advancement to the second step before the throne was helpful. I've now become capable of elevating my entire body to the plane of soul, and my regression is centered on my soul. What does that mean? From the moment I rose to the second step before the throne, even if I return, my cultivation will no longer regress. In other words, I no longer need to store my cultivation in the canvas of myriad forms and connections to recover my realm. What remains now is to recover my grand perfection integration stage cultivation, awaken the divine power of rain, and challenge the advancement to the star-shattering stage. That's all. As I focus on awakening the remaining divine power of rain, I begin dissolving all the stored cultivation in the canvas of myriad forms and connections into the colorless glass sword, since I no longer need to store it. The refining Void Dharma treasure is crucial for the advancement ritual to the start-shattering stage anyway, so enhancing the quality of the Void Dharma treasure is a necessary step. Kugugugugu. As I start dissolving the cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections into the colorless glass sword, a mighty force that shocks the heavens begins to shake the entire cedarwood grove. Since the power stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections is originally compatible with the colorless glass sword from the beginning, it doesn't take much time to enhance the sword itself. I just need to feed it. TSTSTSTSTSTS. A hazy mist rises from the colorless glass sword, then is reabsorbed. At the same time, my swords begin to hum. After all 3,000 colorless glass swords were refined into Void Dharma treasures, they became connected to my heart essence and gained the ability to be resurrected even if they break or are destroyed. But that's all. For now, each of the 3,000 swords is merely a Dharma treasure at the grand perfection nascent soul level. However, as the cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections begins to flow into the colorless glass sword, a transformation begins. Say it. The sharp energy of each of the 3,000 colorless glass swords becomes even more ferocious, and their strength increases further. The 3,000 swords each begin to rise to the level of the heavenly being stage. The cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections is spiritual power at the mid-integration stage. That level of spiritual power is more than enough to elevate the quality of the 3,000 Dharma treasures. I use 1% of the power stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections to raise the 3,000 swords to the early heavenly being level. I infuse more power. The colorless glass swords evolve once again to the mid-heavenly being level. 3% of the power from the canvas of myriad forms and connections is consumed. Late heavenly being. 6% of the remaining power is consumed. Grand perfection heavenly being. 10% of the remaining power is consumed. Quadadudaduck. Suddenly, all of the colorless glass swords glow brightly, emitting a dazzling light. Flash. It feels as if a chrysalis is shedding its shell, and I sense that the rank of my colorless glass swords have dramatically risen again. 4-axis. The quality of each of the colorless glass swords is now at the 4-axis level. To get to this point, half of the cultivation stored in the canvas of myriad forms and connections has been used. I pour the remaining half of the stored cultivation into the 3,000 colorless glass swords. Pot. At that moment, all 3,000 colorless glass swords light up again and rise once more. Mid-4-axis. Dharma treasures at the 4-axis level are called out-of-standard Dharma treasures. Of course, there are Dharma treasures like the blue sky armor of the Azure Heaven Creation sect that surpass even the power of 4-axis level Dharma treasures, but the term out-of-standard Dharma treasure lies in its qualification. From this level onward, without at least reaching the 4-axis stage, it is impossible to fully draw out the power of out-of-standard Dharma treasures, which is why they are called 4-axis level Dharma treasures. Seot. The sharp glow of the colorless glass swords fades as they become out-of-standard Dharma treasures, losing their sharp energy and leaving only solid and dense intensity as they fall to the ground. To an untrained eye, they would appear merely as glass sword models, so ordinary that they can be mistaken for decorative items. But when I pick up one of the colorless glass swords that has fallen to the ground, it responds to my touch, emanating a sharp energy that can likely cut through the 4-axis canopy of a 4-axis stage cultivator. Any 4-axis stage cultivator would find that simply wielding one of the colorless glass swords would allow them to overwhelm opponents at the same level. Wawoom. I gather all the scattered colorless glass swords back into one and gaze at them in contemplation. I have fully infused all the stored cultivation from the canvas of myriad forms and connections into each and every sword, elevating them to the level of out-of-standard Dharma treasures. They haven't fully integrated with the cultivation yet. The rapid rise in their quality is likely the cause. If I take time to allow the cultivation to fully merge with the Dharma treasures, each of the colorless glass swords will eventually reach the grand perfection 4-axis level. The power they will unleash when combined into one. It's to the point that even thinking of testing it gives me chills. But that's not the most important thing. TSTSTSTSTSTSTS. I unfold the canvas of myriad forms and connections that now resides within the colorless glass swords. The colorless glass swords glow brightly, releasing a hazy mist around them. Around me, a web of myriad connections visible only to my eyes unfolds. Now, I will never lose them again. Until now, losing the colorless glass swords also meant losing the canvas of myriad forms and connections, making it impossible to prevent the leakage of my memories. But now that the colorless glass swords have been refined into void Dharma treasures and are partially integrated with my heart essence, the canvas of myriad forms and connections has also merged with my heart essence. In other words, From now on, I will never again lose the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Embrace all connections and become impermanence. This is the enlightenment I came to upon reaching the second step before the throne. Literally, I have embraced all connections within my heart essence. The impermanence reached through filling is also emptiness. I observe the canvas of myriad forms and connections as I contemplate my enlightenment on impermanence. Originally a secret art for storing cultivation, the canvas of myriad forms and connections has now been completely emptied, revealing nothing but emptiness. As I gaze upon the connections within the completely empty canvas of myriad forms and connections, the enlightenment I previously only instinctively grasped now fully crystallizes. I see. Why does impermanence lead to emptiness? Many fundamentally misunderstand this. Emptiness, Kong, is not hollowness, Shi. It doesn't mean being hollow, but rather being pierced through. Someone might look at an empty cave and think, it's hollow. But if they walk to the end of the cave and continue to dig, what happens? The cave will pierce through to the other side of the mountain, becoming a path that connects where they are with another place. Piercing through a path that connects one to one another. That is the essence of emptiness, and that is the true enlightenment I attained regarding impermanence. To embrace all connections and become impermanence. That means embracing all connections and breaking through a path towards all connections. In seated detachment, entering hope, I trained with the goal of compressing my heart essence into a single strike. But training in this realm will be about going beyond emptiness, opening a path from my heart towards all my connections. I see Jangik. I now understand why Jangik implanted his Padao into each and every heart tribe without distinction. Perhaps it's so he can connect with all of them. How? I gather the canvas of myriad forms and connections into one. The hazy mist shrinks to the size of the lowest grade spirit stone in front of me. Having poured all the stored cultivation into the colorless glass swords, the energy within the canvas of myriad forms and connections is now even less than that of the spirit stone. As I gaze at that energy, I clearly understand Jangik's task. How? The canvas of myriad forms and connections emits light. This light illuminates the entire shrine that is filled only with darkness. This light is the grace I received from understanding the hearts of my comrades from past lives. The shrine, once filled with nothing but darkness, is now filled with the light I have built up. From now on, just as this light erased the darkness, the emptiness in the shrine, I will continue to strive to understand the hearts of my connections. By doing so, this light will continue to grow. When the light grows and becomes as bright as the sun, I will finally reach the next realm, illuminating the endless emptiness, Gung, within my heart and filling the hollow. That is second step before the throne. The position where one erases the void, hugging Shikung, with the heart. As thus, the name of this stage naturally settles in my heart. Void shattering, Shukug Funsut. Filling the hollow heart through the path of connections and the grace received from them, reaching the realm where the emptiness is erased. I now realize I have fully entered void shattering. Inside the shrine of the cedar trees. There, along with impermanence, I comprehend the structure of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. The canvas of myriad forms and connections is a path, the timeline of my past, a path where the memories of those timelines intersect. And at the center of that path is Buk Hyangwa's Naraigi. I unconsciously extend my hand and grasp the connection with Buk Hyangwa's Naraigi. TSD. Then, familiar memories surge like a flood. Drip, drip. It's the memory from that time. The 10th cycle. That day, that final moment from back then. It remains so vivid. She, who appeared before me as a soul. Her heart. Feelings, that almost touching sensation. The sentimentality of the kiss. The sense of liberation at the moment when the curse became a blessing. As I feel the tears streaming down, I fully understand Jangik's intention. Those who reach the realm of void shattering must all realize emptiness. Just as the answer to the heart sword differs for each person, so too does the answer for emptiness. But one thing is certain. People always forget emptiness so easily. Whether it is breaking through or emptying out, emptiness is something forgotten far too easily, as is the grace received from others. Until now, I thought I remembered everything through the canvas of myriad forms and connections. But now I understand how arrogant and foolish that thought was. I haven't truly remembered even a single thing. Though I may not have forgotten the memories, have I ever truly remembered the feelings from those moments? Along with the connection to Buk Hyangwa's heart, the hearts of countless others. Memories of the times spent with them flood into my chest. The moments I spent cultivating summoning wind, dragon transformation with Seo Ran, sharing both hardships and joy. The moments when I taught my disciples, telling them to live. As I recall the emotions in each of those countless moments, I gaze at the Naraigi connected to me. Wawoom. Through the Naraigi, the emotions of someone else, not mine, begin to flow in. The current owner of the Naraigi, the heart of this cycle's Buk Hyangwa, is flowing into me. As I faintly feel the emotions of this cycle's Buk Hyangwa, I finally begin to understand, even a little, her feelings as she faces her impending death. I will complete it, no matter what. I see. I was thinking Buk Hyangwa is dying. I was thinking she is leaving me because she has been cursed. It was a misunderstanding. It was a misunderstanding brought about by my arrogance, thinking of her merely as my person. Wasn't it the same with my disciples? How many times had I foolishly and ignorantly told them to just live, without respecting their true desire to achieve their life's goal? This cycle's Buk Hyangwa is, at this very moment, coming back to life, in order to complete her creation as she approaches death. I see the illusion of Hong Surayong. If we cannot overcome fate, can't we at least make choices within fate's confines? If death and destruction are already fated, why can't I seek my heart's own path within that fate? My disciples, as well as Hong Surayong, they all wanted to end their lives with their own hands. The important part isn't wanted to end, but with their own hands. And now, Buk Hyangwa, too, is trying to complete her work with her own hands before leaving. A thought crosses my mind. If everyone were to stay with me for 1,000 years, would that truly mean we are together? People are all fated to part ways eventually. Just as Song Jin has now left me and Seo ran forever. All people eventually face the time of parting. If that is the case, until that time comes, respecting each other as much as possible and remaining in each other's hearts, would that not be the true way to be together forever? Hot. I open my eyes and see the dancing light from the canvas of myriad forms and connections grow stronger. Yes, I have made up my mind regarding Buk Hyangwa. Let's prepare for the farewell. I will do everything I can to find a way to prevent the curse, but if that's not possible, I will bid her farewell in her final moments. I will stay with her as much as I can and send her off as a comrade of this cycle. Step. Clearing my heart and heart demons, I step out of the shrine. As I organize my Dharma treasures, I fully rise to the realm of void shattering. And I resolve my attitude towards Buk Hyangwa, as well as all the connections that will eventually leave me. Creek. Both coming and going are their wills. If the fate that cannot be avoided tries to take away my connections, I will be sorrowful, but let's not fall into despair. I will try to protect them, but let's not obsess over them. While respecting their lives, let's cherish the remaining time even more. Creek. It's when I close the door of the shrine. Kim Yun appears before me. It's been 10 years. At those words, I turn around. At the same time, Pasazasak, the cedar shrine I just left crumbles into dust. It has suddenly weathered away, as if Jangik had worked some trick. I see. Only then do I understand why. Even though it was the lowest grade spiritual stone, its light went out so quickly. From the moment I focused my consciousness inside the shrine, my cognition had been distorted, and time had passed incredibly fast. In these 10 years, there was a great event. She speaks as she walks away. For now, let's go to Hyangwa. I'll explain on the way. All right. With a relaxed smile, I ask her, a great event you say? What exactly was it? First, in the Heart Tribe territory, Sacred Master Baek Woon's incarnation came to declare recognition of your status and bestowed upon you a title as an esteemed one.